Hey everybody, welcome to Twin Cities Playtest. You should be hearing me on the stream. We're trying a slightly new setup tonight, so please let me know if you can hear me. With me, as always, Peter, hey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Twin Cities Playtest. I'm also
Also, let me know
hosting a
if you can
different
hear
stream.
Peter.
Oh, one more
Okay.
time?
Let us know if you can hear Peter as well.
Oh, yes, yes.
We got a one confirm. This is the kind of a number one operation we're running tonight. Um,
Oh, thank you, Swarm. We appreciate you.
okay, brilliant. And I've got a better control for people who've listened in past events, past months. I got a slightly better control over volume for individual participants. So if there's, we did have some issues last time about games being way too loud, and it's not something we knew because of the way we were sort of set up for the streaming. So please let us know if that's an issue again, and we have slightly, we got our hands on the knobs this time, so we'll see if we can do a little bit better. Um, Peter, why don't you go ahead and just introduce what this whole thing is for anyone who's new?
Yes, yeah. So this is basically going to be Twin Cities Playtest. Due to the fact that, of course, the quarantine happened, it's been really hard for people to find playtesters to come in and play games live in person. So we're basically hosting this online stream to help developers get people to come play test their games online. We're basically running it through a Discord for handling all the voice communications. We are going to be using Parsec to allow people to remote access in to play games. And for tonight's special event, we're actually highlighting 2D Con online, which is going to be happening the 28th through the 30th, which is going to be the last week of August here. And what we're going to be showcasing tonight are going to be games that are going to be featured during the Indie Isle at 2D Con online.
Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about it because we got a bunch of really good stuff, and we have some. It's ranges, right? We have some stuff that's early in development, things that are well into development, and then we have a couple of release titles as well, which is not really our wheelhouse normally here on 22's Playtest, but because we're showcasing the 2D Con stuff, I think it's worth giving that stuff a go, especially for people who haven't had a chance to see it yet. So. Pretty exciting stuff. We're going to have as many of the developers as are available to join us as well. So if that's you, if you're a developer of one of those games that we've invited and you're on the stream now, go ahead and hop onto the event stage on Discord. You should know that procedure by now. If not, ping us and let us know. We'll love to have you as players as well. If you're in the stream and you want to play these games, instructions for that are available on the Discord in the events info channel. There's some details on each of the IDGATC's monthly events. The post on Twin Cities Playtest in that channel has all the details on how to get Parsec installed, how to become friends with us, and hopefully we can get that. If you just starting from zero, you should be able to get that set up pretty quickly, and we can get you playing one of these games tonight. And the way to get on the Discord is if you're on the stream, you can see it's embedded there on the video, that little shortcut. We should also have a link. Peter, maybe you can post that discord.me link
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
on
People
cue.
just click right in. And that'll get you into the Discord, and then we're going to be chatting in the events chat channel, and that's going to appear embedded on the video as well. So that's something we're trying tonight. This is like Discord overlay stuff. We'd like some feedback on that, how that's going. You can see we have the voice indicators as well. This is the first for us setting it up this way. We're going to see if that's great or maybe it's a distraction. I don't know. We're going to find out.
I'm already I'm already a fan of it because I actually like seeing who else is in chat. Because once we get the other players in here and the developers themselves, we'll be able to see who's talking and their their Discord personas.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I guess we do need to. We'll gotta decide how we're gonna start. Like we don't have a schedule for tonight. We're kind of playing it loosey goosey. Peter, if you can maybe look around and see if we have any of our developers at hand to
I
join
do.
us. Otherwise, we can get started with one of the games you and I could just start playing.
Yeah, I'm actually I see Swarm Brawl, well Ryan, who's actually in the chat right now. He's talking about yeah. I think he's ready to go. So why don't we just pull him
Oh,
in? He's roaring to go.
developer of Emery.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, let's see. Ryan, I have given you the event presenter role in Discord, which means you should have access to the event stage voice channel. Go ahead and join that at your leisure, and you'll be live with us.
Hello, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome.
Thanks.
Hopefully you've also muted the stream so you don't have a lot of feedback. I mean, that's your problem, but I recommend
Yeah, no,
not
please let
hearing
me know
yourself
if
twice.
I'm messing up in some way.
You sound good to me. Hopefully,
Cool.
people listening will holler if there's a problem. Well, why don't we go ahead and load up your game, and we
Sure.
can have Peter can take the wheel. I'm gonna have to give him access on the via Parsec, but here let me first load it up on the machine here.
Sure.
Yep, I'm connecting to Parsec, the icebox,
Okay, cool.
and we are in, my friend.
All right.
This is a pre-alpha build. Press start.
You working for you?
No, unfortunately.
That's okay. This is
What?
one of those common things where you need to
Yeah.
have your controller connected before the game starts. This is a very common
Oh.
thing with in development games. I think half of our titles work that way, so I'll go ahead and close it and we will start it up again. If your controller is connected, then you should be able to access it now when I start it.
Okay, it is super connected.
What kind of controller are you using, if I might ask?
Just an Xbox 360 Wi-Fi. Yes, an Xbox 360 Wi-Fi. Oh no.
No dice?
No dice.
let me-
Let me try restarting it. Turn
Sure.
off and back on.
Yeah, ideally we'd have Xbox One or PS4. So
That shouldn't be an issue
Okay.
just because of the way Parsec works.
okay.
But that is okay.
Sure.
This is
Those are the only devices I use to.
And Ryan, you shouldn't worry. This is a par for the course thing here on Twin Cities
Okay.
Playtest. Is
Yep.
Sounds
kind
good.
of virtualizing all these things is a bit tricky. So
Sure.
Peter, let me know when you you feel you're connected.
Okay, so I'm gonna close up Parsec real quick
Mm-hmm.
and restart it. And the controller's connected. Booting up Parsec.
I
Connecting
don't
to the
know
icebox.
if you need to have it connected before Parsec loads, but maybe. There's like so
It's all
many
part of the-
moving parts, you know.
Yeah, it's all part of the
Alright.
troubleshooting.
So you're connected now.
I am connected. Let's see what we got.
All right.
Made with Unity. A great choice. Yep, we're in.
All right.
That was it.
Cool.
Oh, Emery. I remember this game all the way back from VGMCon 2020.
Yeah, actually, it's the same build from BGMCon, actually, which isn't
Cool.
ideal, obviously, but
Peter, let me interrupt. If you want to pause the game real quick, I'm going to lower the volume on it a bit, just in anticipation of concern about that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's actually much nicer because actually, when you lower the volume, it lowers the volume for me too.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay, I get it. I was just like, oh, your walking speed is not fast enough to walk past the thing. Oh yeah, I remember these.
I ran through this tutorial the other day, and I think it's one of those things that when you're as a developer, you're like, oh, I don't want to have to explain everything, and how am I do this naturally?
sure.
And I think this level does a really good job of
thank you.
it tells the player what to do, right? But it also doesn't. It's not like press A to continue. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
You discover a little more as you go.
I've had several iterations of the tutorial for sure, and I've brought it to like Glitch's playtest events in the past, and I just get like pages worth of feedback on it. So I've scrapped and redone the tutorial a few times over.
Oh, I bet.
But yeah, the affirmation on this particular run through is definitely appreciated.
Oh man, that feels so good. Nothing like a good wall jump mechanic, man. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, that's another one of the things that Glitch has been. Just shout out to Glitch for putting on the playtest events for sure, because got a lot of good feedback from people just coming in and playing it and telling me, you know, what's good, what could be better, and it's not always easy to receive feedback, but I mean, it does pay off in the end if you work on it enough, I think. So. glad
and
to
that's
hear
the goal
your.
with these events is to replace that experience because we haven't had an in-person playtest even since before COVID. Like I think December maybe was the last
Oh
one,
God,
and
yeah.
so
Sure.
they just don't exist anymore, and so we've always needed to fix that, and then then quarantine came, and so we're a couple months in, but hopefully this doesn't. It's not the same. I think it's pretty obvious, but
Yeah.
It's doing the best it can, you know.
Yeah, for sure. It's something.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry, guys. I'm doing something very important here.
yeah, this
Oh
customizer
yeah,
was pretty
by all
fun.
means. Thank you. Yeah, I know it was definitely important for me to have it. Like as soon as the idea popped into my head, I knew it was going in. I'm sure if you guys are developers at all, you know that not every good idea makes it off the cutting room floor, but
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta stick to something, and this was one of those things for sure.
Peter, I had that exact same instinct when I tried out the customizer, the like inverting the decal. From
What?
Yeah, I think that's a very natural impulse.
It looks super cool.
Yeah, it's like a luchador mask.
Oh my goodness, you can choose. Oh, this is new. I don't know. I don't remember this part. Maybe I didn't get a chance to test it out. But you can colorize your own shield and your laser. That's great.
Oh, it's some dangerous territory there because then it interacts with like the user experience for how players understand how features work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend being a little cautious with those kind of customization things.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely, the shield and the lightning customization features were not in the original customization implementation that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, I was able to play with it a little bit, and it's been pretty smooth for the most part. Every once in a while, I'll catch something where something that's too similarly colored. In fact, you'll see it in a little bit here, or you might see it in a little bit here, where the blue lightning is a little too close to the color of the sky, for example, and that can interfere with knowing how fully charged some of these objects get to be. So
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, like you said, there's some added consideration there for sure.
Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, that's right. I was like, wait, what am I doing?
Peter, I'm going to pause you once more.
Oh, go for it.
Just because the volume adjustment worked. However, I still hear it very loudly. So I'm going to
okay.
so just in action here, just lower it on my machine, and then that will work rather than through the stream. So anyone interested in knowing how this works, this would be fascinating. Everybody else, this is terribly tedious. There you go. It should be about the same volume for you as it was. But now it's much kinder on my ears.
I was to say, for those of you in chat, if you want to play, we still have time for this. If you just download Parsec, you can also join in on the fun. Because I have played this game already. I happened into it at VGMCon. And I know that we are definitely looking for outsider feedback.
Yes, that's the main thing. I think Peter and I as we've done these events, I think we're playing games. I think we didn't expect to play at all, but it's actually been very useful to sort of have this sort of continuity, especially when we talk to developers. We still definitely want to have folks who are just joining us pop in. We'd love to have you on the chat as well. It's not a requirement if you don't want to have your you're not up to chatting tonight on voice chat, but we'll definitely have you in Parsec. Again, those instructions are in the events info channel on the Discord, and that link is in chat. It's also on screen. You can see it in that tiny type right there. Looks like we got Charles and Ben, some developers on games that we'll be playing up shortly. Either of you, if you should both have access to Event Stage. You can go ahead and hop on at any time, and we can either have you playing Emery or just chatting with us before we start either of your games.
Yeah, I'd be down to see you guys play Emery if you guys haven't yet. You guys can tell me how sweet the wall jumps feel. 'Cause they feel so good. Wall jumps are great.
I'm really glad to hear that for sure. I did not get it right the first time.
I really like the animation in the wall jumps where you sort of like drag and you can see the character sort of split.
Yeah,
that's a really good piece of visual feedback. I really like that quite a lot. I think the one bit of feedback I'd have for it though is I think it's if you let go, if you're not pressing against the wall, you still sort of hang on to it. And I think it's mostly like that's not standard. I think in most wall jumps, unless you're actively pressing against the wall with the joystick, you fall off of it. And so letting go of the joystick is a way to choose to fall off from it. That's how it is in a lot of other games. And I think I'm always very wary of saying do it like other games do it, but I think that there's an expectation there, I think.
Yeah. That's been a bit of an ongoing battle because that's actually kind of how I had it originally because that's how Super Mario does it, and I'm not trying to copy Super Mario per se, but obviously the heritage
works, right?
is visible, right? So
yeah, for sure.
I tend to look towards those 2D Super Mario games for matters like that when trying to decide how something should feel, and obviously it's not it's not necessarily like the gospel that I must follow, but obviously it's a great point of reference. And so that is how I had it originally. And then a lot of the feedback, to my surprise at the time, was that it was too hard to wall jump. I did approach it a little more easily like this, but at VGMCon and then now including yourself as well, it sounds like you like the more manual process of performing the wall jump, and that's my preference too. So
I think
I'm thinking of making that configurable.
Yeah, well, I think that it comes down to is what the game demands, right? So if the game requires like, so if you have like a wall jump back and forth, right? But in order to and you need to get the gems that are on the side of the wall, right? This is the situation where it actually kind of bothered me that I wasn't able to have more control over when to let go, was that you sort of optimize where you are on the wall before you jump across, right? And if you're always dragging down, then that wait is a little longer than you expect. But if you have control over like how fast you're moving, then you can kind of be a little bit more speed running about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And you can do that if you hold down on the joystick.
Okay.
Or if you hold the joystick away from the wall that you're sliding against, that'll allow what you're talking. Well, I should clarify. If you hold it away from the wall, the character will turn around. So you definitely want to hold down on the joystick rather than
right.
face away.
Yeah,
so
and that's the thing is if you because well, you were saying that initial feedback of people saying it was too hard to wall jump, that is still feedback you should not let go of because
for sure.
Because even in like Super Mario, like a new Super Mario game, there'll be times when I'll be like, I swear I was pressing left. Why am I keep falling off this wall? Like even Mario doesn't do it perfectly. It's like a trade-off, right?
Sure.
It's there's the sort of expectations, but also it's like the demands of this particular game. So that's something that you have to sort of find as you go. That's not really an answer for you,
sure.
but like
it's a great example of how things can be dilemmas when you weren't necessarily expecting them to be something to be hung up on so much. But that's why you bring it out to let other people play it and see what they think. Because I've definitely run into the dilemma of like, as the developer of the game, I just get so good at it that I make levels that challenge me.
Right.
Whereas somebody who's not familiar with the game really struggles with something like that. So definitely had to get some outside perspective on things like that for sure.
And platformers are tricky because like there's 800 ways to do an excellent platformer, but each of those 800 ways needs to have level design that matches that particular feel. So you'll find like I'm going to change this way the character jumps or lands or floats or wall jumps based on particular feedback, and then suddenly half my levels now don't feel as good as they did, even though that one level that was giving me trouble now feels better. So it's an unenviable task. Like even though platformers seem like the simplest of indie games, they really they're much more complicated than anybody gives them credit for.
Yeah, and that's something I kind of learned the hard way because I started Emery a couple years ago thinking, you know, it'd be fun and it wouldn't be, because I get when you're trying to get into indie development in general, you know, the most common advice you'll see is to start small, start simple. And you look at, I mean, as someone who grew up playing Super Mario, like, you know, that's as basic and fundamental as video game gets in my mind. And there's been a lot of lessons to learn along the way of trying to get to where I am even today. So that was definitely not something I'd anticipated when I started.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're in the roughly the generation I am, you know, you grew up on Mario Brothers, whereas if you're a little older, you grew up on Asteroids, and that's an easier thing to get started with. You know?
Yeah, hindsight definitely is telling me much of the same.
Yeah. I'm seeing Ben in chat asking if you got things submitted in time. Well, why yes, Ben, you did. We have both Color Jumper and Death Drives of Us waiting for anyone to play, including you. So hop on whenever you're ready.
Oh wow, that was savage. So I remember playing this way back when, and I think it's much easier when it's in person. There is a tiny lag here, mostly because I am playing from a Wi-Fi not at home.
Yeah, that'll do it.
But it is still like, I can't complain though, you guys. If you guys want to try this out yourselves, hopping in on Parsec, it still feels as though like I am playing the game. It's a little floaty, but I can't really complain.
Yeah, it's a good test
I also
for
can't
like design systems rather than like control accuracy. Like it's this is sort of just an excuse for the minor lag you get from Parsec, which is really quite good. It is really very minor, but it means that like you can't really test reaction time in a fighting game with a system like this. But what it means is that for Ryan, who's designing levels that are hard for him, might actually be a good way for him to test if things are feeling right, because it handicaps you just a little bit.
I've also lost control, unfortunately. I don't know what happened.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I had mouse control for a second.
Well, let me... Well, we can restart. Presumably, we've got save data, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it'd be fine just to restart too.
Yep, you should. That data should be saved.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and just close it out. We'll start over. Peter, you're connected. You're still connected on Parsec, but you got your controller.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Ben also notes that it looks like the SFX is a bit loud compared to the rest of the sounds.
Yeah, the charge sound effect in particular is a little bit of a little rough on the ears sometimes. So that's definitely on the to-do list for sure. But thanks for noting that for sure.
Well, let me go ahead and just turn it down a little bit more then, just so we don't have that in our way. Man, that's tough. When you do audio, it's always way too late. You always think you're gonna, you always want to give it a ton of time, but it's always way too late in the development process. And then, I do a lot of audio processing and engineering, and I don't have any of those tools when I'm working on a game. I can't, there's no mixer. I mean, there is, but it's all programmatic, and if you want to be efficient about it, you want to get all your audio mixed and mastered ahead of time. And that is like, it's just not as easy of a workflow as it is working with other types of media. Yeah, I don't suppose, Ryan, you're familiar with any of the sort of audio middleware, like WWise or whatever that other one is called. A lot of people in Unity are using that, and that makes things a little bit easier, I hear. I don't have any experience with that.
Yeah, I don't really have much either. That's definitely an area of need for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, whoa. Okay. That was a little glitchy there, but I'm pretty sure this is just a test build, so that's fine. Okay, so like I had a checkpoint and I had a shield, but I think I stepped into the spikes and went dealt like 2 points of damage or something, and geez, it like just sent me straight back to like the start again.
Yeah, that was a bit of a camera glitch, I think.
Aww. Where'd that propeller go? There it is. I was like, it's got to be around here somewhere.
So Ryan, tell me about all these different mechanics, like how,
Sure.
what inspired you to, I mean, you can talk about individual ones, but like balancing them all and having this sort of like slate of power. That actually reminds me a little bit of Will Tice's game Atmocopter, where he's been toying with something similar. Tell me about that as an inspiration.
Sure. Well, I definitely knew that I wanted to make a platform with a little bit more depth than something you'd see in something like a Super Mario or a Super Meat Boy, where you know, the platforming is the king in those games for sure.
Yeah.
And I've always been a fan of the jump on the enemy style of combat in particular, so I definitely wanted to include that as well. But originally Emery was a very different game when I started designing it. And having attack abilities like the bullets that you can shoot, and utility abilities like the drone wings in particular, having the ability to use both was very important to that design. And it's, you know, that the importance has translated to the newer, you know, the modern design that you see now. So I like that there's a little bit more depth and a little bit more way for me to modify the gameplay a little bit, because I definitely have more abilities that aren't in this demo but are definitely in the works.
Yeah.
That I look forward to showing off at some point in the future. So when I try to design like a utility ability, I try to come up with something that's going to change the gameplay to some extent. And I won't be able to show this in this build, but I can share. I'm comfortable sharing that like the next utility ability that you'll have is a shield that expands around Emery, and you can walk with the shield deployed, but you can't sprint and you can't jump, so it slows you down a little bit, but it keeps you safe. And the shield is kind of like a large bubble, and any enemies that are inside that bubble will be damaged over time. So it's a little bit of a defensive but also offensive ability, and that'll make sense in the levels that you'd find that in, because there are a lot of lasers that you see in levels like that.
Okay. So would you say that it's more about designing different mechanics to interact with different level designs, or is it? I mean, it's always going to be a little bit of both. But is it also to accommodate different play styles? Because I can see someone who wants to like lean on the shield because they're not as interested in the sort of precision action part, but there's consequences, right? You can't move as fast, but you're a little safer.
Sure.
Or are the abilities really restricted to certain levels?
Yeah, it's more so that as of right now, and I've definitely tried in the past to make levels where you could get multiple, so you could get multiple utility abilities, and then you could just switch between which ones were active. But then that introduces, you know, another layer of level design, because, you know, ideally if you're gonna have multiple different utility options at your disposal, you'd want the level to be able to have both of those utility abilities to have their moment in the spotlight.
Yeah.
At least that's how I see it. So trying to make levels that are, you know, reasonably brief. Like I'm not trying to make levels that are going to take you more than 5 to 10 minutes to get through if you're going at, you know, a relatively leisurely pace. So trying to keep things brief enough, but also showcasing all that it presents to you. There's a little bit of a balancing act. So I do still have the capability to do that if I want to go back to it. But when I have been designing these levels, I've definitely been trying to build them around a particular utility and a particular attack ability.
Okay.
So you get one of each. But I'm also trying to make the levels completely doable without using either. So if you just
Okay.
want to do like a naked run, just in the interest of time,
Yeah.
I want that to always be an option to the player as well.
Okay.
One thing that you'll note is I definitely do keep track of scores in the top right corner, and I keep track of fastest times. And that idea came about. Well, again, the original design for Emery was drastically different. I actually used to have the battery be the timer, and if you ran, like, the battery would just deplete over time, and if you didn't finish the level,
Oh, gee, that's savage.
if you didn't finish the level by the time the battery ran out, that was it. And you can probably doesn't take a lot of imagination to,
stuff, man.
yeah, I was gonna say that probably doesn't take a lot of imagination to see why that didn't really feel all that great. So that charge mechanic evolved into something that's kind of like an active ability, like a mana bar of sorts.
Yeah.
In addition to the regular platforming gameplay that is more familiar. So I'm really comfortable with where the battery is at. It definitely went through a lot of different iterations, but I think you'll notice the shields in particular, you have to charge these beacons to gain a shield. And if you get hit when you have 0 shields, that is when you die. So if you want to increase your survivability, you charge more of these beacons to have more shields so you can take more hits. But that introduces a trade-off where you have to spend a second of idle time to actually charge the beacon. So if you're interested in trying to get fastest times, then you're going to want to charge as few of those shield beacons as possible. And I do have collectibles, just to give you a little tease here, I do have collectibles for reaching the end of the level in a set number of seconds. So, I'm trying to use, and that, kind of transitions to my approach towards collectibles as well. I want my collectibles to encourage different styles of play as well.
Yeah.
So I do have collectibles for running through the level in generally 30 seconds or less. And it's not easy. Those are definitely among the harder collectibles to get. I do have ones for exploring the levels really thoroughly, so if you're really looking for those Easter eggs, there are some to be found. I do have a collectible for killing every enemy in the level, and then it appears at the end of the level. So, and that can transition to my approach towards enemy design too, because it's not like Mario where enemies can show up on screen, and if you miss them, no big deal. I need to make sure that the player has every fair chance that they deserve to actually kill every enemy in a single run if I'm going to have a collectible like that in the game. So that adds a bit of another layer to my approach towards enemy design. So yeah, that I think that explains a lot of the mechanics that I'm trying to showcase here. You did find that I track a lot of my stats as well. Those settings are broken. They worked at one point, but they're broken in this build.
Then it's not a build unless a lot of it's broken, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you waited till you had the perfect build, you would never get it out there.
Well, Ryan, if you want to stick on around in chat, Charles has just joined us, and we'll take a peek at HyperDot, and there's 4 of us, so maybe we could play a 4-player round. What do you say?
Ooh,
that'd be fun.
Charles, you there?
All right, log it on. Yes, I am.
Hey,
here.
welcome, bud.
Hey, I just realized that I did not do the friend thing, so I'm doing that now.
Oh yeah,
Charles.
See, I know, disappointment.
Are we not friends, Charles? Is that what this is?
We are not friends.
Oh, savage. On live TV, man.
Yep. All right.
Okay, 1 friend request. What do you think, Peter? Should I accept it?
I don't know. He just said it on live TV that we're not friends.
It's a trap.
Failed request to friends. Parsec. You have a funny way of leaning into the gag.
Ryan, you should also set a friend request too, so you can remote in and play HyperDot as well.
Yes.
Yes. What's
So
the
this will be
friend
good.
request again?
Um,
Who am I sending it to?
IGDATC is the username for on Parsec. And you've already got Parsec. You got an account and you downloaded the client and everything.
Yep, I've got it right now.
Cool. Well, you're ahead of the curve. I was going to say like, oh, let's walk through the whole process, but you're already most of the way there. All right.
Let me see if you get that.
There you are. Friend request. Yes, yes, yes. There were no errors on that one, which means you're a slightly better friend. And feel free to join the machine is called Icebox.
Gotcha.
You should find that in the just computers panel, I believe.
I need to confirm my email, apparently.
Ah, yes, that's correct. They need to know that you're a real boy.
I'll boot up HyperDot while we wait for you to join in on this Parsec bit. And Charles, why don't you go ahead and just introduce the game to folks on the watching the stream who might not have heard of it already. Shame on them.
Sure. Yeah, so HyperDot is an action arcade game where you dodge everything. So you play as a circle, and there are a bunch of shapes that come around the arena, and you just need to avoid all of the different shapes. But there's a ton of different things that change up the game. There's modifiers which change the way the game's played. So you can have players be twice as big, twice as small, or you can change the arena itself. So you can have like a dark arena where you can't see everything around you, things like that. But right now we're jumping into multiplayer.
Why don't?
I should probably select Parsec and then jump on.
Probably.
Okay.
You'll learn how this works eventually.
Yeah, eventually I'll figure that out.
One of the two of you can play, and I'll wait for Ryan before we can do a 4-player round soon enough.
Sure. All right. So you can feel free to choose any level that you want.
Oh man, you're saying I have to challenge you one-on-one? Oh,
Yeah.
come on. This is not fair.
Well, remember, as you know, we're all great at our own games, but we got that 3 millisecond lag, or whatever
Oh,
it is.
I know.
Yeah.
So that should even it up a little bit.
Oh, come on, no! The homing ones. It's always the homing ones. But this is the basics of HyperDot right here.
Yes. So yeah, this is classic. So actually, fun fact.
Oh
We're
my
gonna
God.
get a bunch of fun facts during this. But fun fact, this is the very first level that I ever made in HyperDot. Like dating back to when this game was a research topic in school. So this was the normal mode that I made, where it was just dodge everything.
Yep, I remember hearing this legacy story. No!
Oh, thank you. That was really close.
you used me. You used
Yes.
me. Oh, you can use either the left stick or the right stick. That's
Yes.
actually really nice.
Yeah. So. Well, that was.
That was a fair win, Charles.
Yeah, we're gonna just click restart. And,
Retake
um,
those. I'm just gonna hang out by you, man. We're just gonna be
No.
friends. Okay, we're gonna be
bad
friends. Come on.
idea. Okay. Live
We're
close
friends.
to the edge.
No, we're friends. Come on. We're friends. Oh God, no!
Yes.
You came out of nowhere.
Ryan, I saw you briefly on the Parsec window there. Were you sending a request?
Yeah, I don't know if you need to allow me or something like that, but
I
just get...
should have to do that, and I will accept. And you should be...
Ah, perfect.
Right, you should be in now, so we can head back
see
to
it.
the... I'll turn on my controller, and we can head back to the main menu. Someone who has the ability to do that.
It looks like the host is doing something else.
Yeah, you have to re-enable us. There we go.
Actually, you can't jump in here.
Okay. There we go. I will be gray. I always like being gray in this game.
And hop on in, Ryan, if you got control.
Oh, let me see here. I think I do. pushing buttons on my controller.
No.
Back in
Oh. Is that who's moving the Ouija board?
I don't know. Okay, I think that's me. Okay, sorry.
Okay, there we
we'll
go.
stop.
No worries. Here, we can actually. We'll go back and then we'll all choose our color.
Okay, cool. We're all connected.
Yep, we're here.
All right. So you want to do classic some more, or we can change it up?
Let's jump
So-
in the slate because I think they got a good visual of what was happening.
Sure.
So Charles, I got a dev to dev question for you if you're up for it.
Okay. Sure.
So I saw you're on Xbox Game Pass.
Ah, yes.
How was your experience getting onto Game Pass? What was that process like?
So it was a lot of it was handled a lot by see now I'm in the middle of trying to argue. So yeah, a lot of it was handled by publisher things, but I do have some knowledge of things.
Yeah.
So it was like trying to talking back and forth between Microsoft and stuff. We had a fairly good relationship with them because of oh dang it. We had a fairly good relationship because of us working with them on the ID at Xbox team. I guess, yeah, I should have probably mentioned this game is out on Xbox.
Now.
But yeah, so we had a fairly good relationship with
Oh,
them.
come on.
Yes, the distraction. And that was something where we were able to communicate back and forth fairly quickly on. So we definitely had a it was an atypical relationship because of that. Oh, got it, no.
This is a great jam for conversations.
Yes.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I enjoy being
also-
undistracted and also not subject to this lag.
Yeah, the lag is definitely a thing.
Is it actually is it impacting you guys at all? Like, does it really feel rough, or for a precision game?
Oh no.
Too bad.
I mean, I know we
Yeah,
can
I
all
was-
blame it. That's fair, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was 100% lag right there. 100%.
Yeah. Yep. I got it.
let's try something else.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh,
Not
Ice
Ice Age, man.
I freaking hate
God,
Ice.
no.
Charles, you have to remove this from the
dude.
game.
Ice Age. What?
You're right. I will retroactively
Oh, God,
remove all ice levels from the game. Actually, another fun fact.
Nobody would
Um,
complain.
Oh no.
Oh, nice. Yes. There was a friend of mine who hated the Pentagon so much that they went into the code, deleted the Pentagons from the game, made a build for themselves, and now has that build.
Well, for those at home can't tell, the Ice Age is that as soon as you push a direction, you are locked in that direction until you push another direction. So you're constantly moving. You can't stand still. Oh God, why no? No, stop it!
no! Ah! Okay, I got a little cocky there.
Yeah, it's okay.
I recently added some ice levels to Emery, and as soon as I was done with them,
Why would you do that?
I was really excited about it, and I told my friends, and I practically got booed out of town, dude.
Oh no!
Turns out people really hate ice in video games.
Yeah, ice and water. Game designers like it because it introduces like new constraints. It's easy to understand and adds a level of challenge that is like digestible. It just sucks and no one wants to play.
Oh come on. Yeah.
I mean, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but like it's definitely one of those things where it used judiciously. I think it's actually used pretty well in this game, where when it comes up, you're like, ah, damn it! But then like you go in. Like it doesn't. You're not gonna quit the game over it. You know what I mean? It's like those like
Sure.
roadblocks games put up that it's like a fiction. It's like a fiction. Where you like sort of mad at it, but ultimately. Like a really tough water level, you sort of can convince yourself you wish it didn't exist, but it's exactly what you needed, you know?
Sure.
Yes, this is a challenge that no one wants to accept. But
Right, like you wouldn't do it, you wouldn't choose to,
Right.
right? But like,
Yeah, no.
but it's good for you.
Nice. That was a good play. I'll admit that.
okay, I am.
Oh yeah. If
Wait,
we
hold
wanna switch up the level.
Oh yes, there we go. Sorry.
So Charles, this
first,
game also has a robust campaign mode, which is my favorite part of it, because it becomes kind of a puzzle game, which I really love.
Yes.
Is that something you can do with multiple players? I don't remember.
No.
Okay.
That is a single-player campaign. So yeah, there's over 100 different levels in the game. And now there's actually even more because I released some bonus levels after it was released. So yeah, this is dark mode.
Oh, this is actually my favorite mode of HyperDot here, because like, look how beautiful it is.
It is pretty.
And this is a lot of this is thanks to super fast soft shadows, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a Unity package that our pals at Howling Moon Software made quite well, and a lot of the games in our local community use it because it's fast and gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah, and so it is a little bit of a modified version. So I had to do some custom coding.
Did you have to rewrite some shaders? Because I had to do that.
I didn't have to rewrite some shaders. There was just a couple of rendering order things that I had to deal with.
Oh, sure.
Especially to get the light around the outside. That was the thing I had to do. But yeah, no, it's a really great plugin. See, this is hard. Okay.
We're good.
Have any of you guys messed around with URP yet?
Have not.
I have, but not on any real project.
Oh.
Okay. Since VGMCon, I actually did upgrade Emery to URP. Hey, my first win. All right.
See, that's what you gotta do. You have to talk about something that we haven't done yet.
Shins.
But yeah, playing around with URP has a lot of new built-in lighting features for Unity that I'm really excited to play around with a lot more.
Yeah. It actually kind of reminds me. One of the things about what's happening with Unity these days is Unity is like, I don't know if there's like generations of Unity devs, but like Unity is maturing in a way that is making it kind of difficult for newcomers. But for the people who were newcomers 3 or 4 years ago, like it's kind of matching their level of development. And so a lot of the things that are being introduced now feel very familiar to me as someone whose background in programming is in less editor-based systems, right? Just mostly code. And so it is kind of strange. It has this like push and pull. You'll get these systems which are very customizable but very programmer-focused, and then eventually you'll get these systems that are very much for game designers, frankly, right? And
Sure.
Unity just seems to swap focus every now and again, and it never feels like they're doing one thing for long. But I think right now they're in a cycle of like optimization, performance, like, and that's what's guiding their new features.
I will just say, I was actually enjoying not having to talk so I could focus on the game. I was like, oh, I'm winning now that I'm not talking. It's great.
No, it's not giving me any trouble. I'm losing because I'm not great at this. One of the lessons I think in HyperDot for other like one-person developer teams or smaller teams is, Charles, you built a framework that is essentially a system. So notice how every level has different color schemes, and the mechanics are very simple, but like just a tweak can make it feel like a totally different game. And it's a really efficient way to make a project with a lot of depth and variety without having to, and you know, I'm sure it belies under the surface probably more complicated than it appears. But you know, just things like ice mode or increasing or lowering the size of the character, like that's essentially relatively uncomplicated a modifier, but it adds a multiplier to the depth of the game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's something that I really wanted to try and discover, figure out what are ways to make it so that the core mechanic, which is literally just move, there is no other buttons that you have to press. How do I explore that? So having it so that there's ice mode where you can't stop moving,
I do need to stop you real quick and just note that I have 8 wins, just so everybody knows.
Okay. Okay. See, now we gotta go in serious time. All right.
So here's one where we have multiple hits,
Yes.
which is a fun little. Oh yeah, I forgot we had to go through these areas too.
Ow! That hurt.
Oh, and we're bumping.
Ow! You should collect the shapes.
Ah.
There we go. See, serious time activated. Okay.
Just apologies about that phone. Wi-Fi issue, but you guys can continue. You guys keep going. You guys keep going. I feel like I'm a liability. I'm just free EXP apparently at this stage.
God damn, I'm so close. There we go. So one thing that I did add after launch was a mode called Gauntlet mode. And that is where you can play through the entire campaign, but with a limited set of lives.
Oh.
So I have yet to do it. Dang. But you can choose between 100 lives, 50 lives, 10 lives, or 1 life.
Oh God, no.
Some crazy dude out there is gonna do it in 1 life.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the furthest I've gotten with 1 life. Oh no! Is 32. 32 levels in.
Oof. How many gamer score do you get for doing it in 1 life?
That's the campaign mode you're talking about?
Yes, yeah, you'll go through the entire campaign with just 1 life. And it is oddly, well, it's not really all that odd, but it's super intense. Oh, come on. Oh, no!
Aha! I like this mode because it's not just a function of surviving the longest.
Yeah, there's a bit of a risk-reward balance that's kind of introduced there.
Yeah.
And that's definitely very interesting.
Well, that
and of course, you know, it tends to well, you can see the different metrics, and you know, not just so that we know who's on top in both metrics, just so that everybody's clear.
So we all know. Yeah.
But
Post powers OP.
Right. But what that means, I mean, what all that means is that players can decide which they care about, right? So it's like, it's kind of a little bit like how I do it in Metro Nexus, where game's keeping track, you know? It doesn't, you know, you can decide what you care about. You can decide whether, like, you want to stay in these circles or not, you know? You can just wait till everybody, like, dies, and then, like, just play survival.
I won, yeah.
And then, yeah, you can either do that, or once everyone's dead, then you can just slowly, methodically get up that percentage if you feel you can survive longer, right? Whereas if you feel like you're not going to last long, then you want to spend all that time in the area to get that percentage up. So like again, there's just more depth in it than you really would expect, and I think that really signifies a game that can last for a long time.
Yeah,
in people's libraries.
Depth is definitely huge for like longevity and staying interest over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, does anybody want to tackle the campaign? Ryan, you want to tackle the campaign?
I'd love to, but my latency is unfortunately a little difficult for me right now.
No.
I think something's bottlenecking my network right now, so I'm trying to fish that out.
Someone's trying to DOS you while we play action time, game.
But,
really?
I'll definitely have to give this a download on Game Pass at some point here.
I also want to give a shout out. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I want to give a note. We had a couple of people who had signed up for Playtester tickets, and if you're in stream right now, I just wanted to let you know that you are welcome to join us to come play this game. You signed up for a ticket, you're welcome to join, as is everyone else in chat as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, please, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to do the little rundown here. HyperDot is available, and that's unusual here for our playtest events. But yeah, it's on Xbox Game Pass. You can also just buy the damn thing. It's on Steam and itch. And Charles, I don't think it's unreasonable to assume it's coming to other platforms eventually.
We're still working on that.
That's a definitive maybe, folks.
That's a definitive. Soon TM maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, if y'all want to move on to another game, then it's totally fine. I
Yeah,
also
well,
have to,
I know that Ben is
unfortunately,
around. If Ben wants to pop on, he's got 2 games in the 2DCon Indie Island. And if he would like to join us on the event stage, we can load up one or both of them. Charles, if you want to stick around and play those, we're happy to keep you, of course.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do have to jump off, but no, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad that I was able to hang out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry I beat you so many times.
Yeah,
but you go
yeah,
ahead and
do.
you go ahead and do some self-care to take care of that.
Yep.
And-
The tail between my legs.
Yep.
All the bad. Oh, yep. All right. Well, I'll talk to y'all later and have
Yeah.
a good rest of your night.
Thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure,
Yeah,
man.
you
Have a
too.
good night.
See ya.
Ben, I know you're out there. Just leave the Charles's title music going on in the background. You can get the HyperDot soundtrack too. I think that's available on Steam all by itself. I think you can buy a little special edition pack with both too. Charles did all the music for it. Cool stuff.
It is very smooth. Very
Yeah,
smooth.
very, very good vibes coming off that soundtrack for sure. Speaking of soundtracks, I guess I just wanted to shameless plug a little bit. But
Please
if you
do.
guys are familiar with Jesse Myers at all, I know he's mentioned to me that he's come to IGDA meetings at times in the past, and he was at VGMCon as well. And he's a local Minneapolis, Twin Cities area based composer. And so I've been working with him on some original music for Emery as well.
Oh yeah.
Again, not in the build, but he's been doing an amazing job putting out some really cool original soundtracks for Emery. So whenever I get my next like demo ready build in place, that'll definitely be a highlight for me to show off the work he's been doing.
Very cool. Well, while we're waiting for Ben, we can load up Widget Satchel, which is a game that I released last fall. Ryan, if you'll stick with us, you want to give Widget Satchel a go?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
All right. Well, you're still connected, so I'll go ahead and launch it. I'll probably quit HyperDot first. I'm going to turn the volume down, as before. There's got to be a more efficient way to do this. Or not. I don't know if I care. All right.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, when we started this, it's like we want to keep it moving smoothly, and have it go set up. But at a certain point, I don't know what stream is that optimized, right?
This is a stream about playtesting. We're here to troubleshoot, bug fix, bug find, all that.
Yeah. Of course, in this game there are volume settings that are saved. I really should have just gone in and done that in advance, but so it goes. Ryan, you should be able to control the menu. Let me know if you can or can't.
Oh, good old
Let's see
fashioned.
here. Yeah, we got it. All right.
Cool. Go ahead and delete that game or start game B or C.
I'll just go with B.
Cool.
Oh, that's you're good.
Is it taking my input?
Are you hitting A?
I'm a trying.
That happened before, right? Where you lost control briefly?
I don't know if the game is still running on your side, but I'm just kind of looking at an image here, a still.
Oh, then you must have been disconnected because it is still running.
Oh,
The
no.
host is doing something. All right.
Still nothing on your end?
Still looking at the still.
Oh, do you have?
Take a look here.
Is Parsec telling you that there's a problem?
Not that I'm seeing anywhere.
Well, you're on the cutscene right now, but you need to progress if you. And now I'm back in the desktop because I've just minimized it. So you should be seeing Parsec should now be telling you.
Yep, it is.
That there's like, hey, it's not on that game. Now I'm going back to the game, and Parsec should now be showing it to you.
I can hear the music.
Okay, but when you press A, nothing happens.
Nothing's happening.
All right. Let me kick you out, and then why don't you try to join again?
I'm gonna blame my network on this one.
I would also try.
All right. I've accepted you. You're connected again. You should see the thing at Parsec's like, hey, there's no game open.
Yep, I do.
And now you should be able to have control. No?
Weird. It was working for a little bit there, but it's not
It
now.
was. All right. Well, let's hear. I'll close the app. Maybe that's the problem. We'll give it another try.
So you've released this game as well, right?
Yes, this game is out on PC and Switch.
Okay. How was the process of getting it to Switch?
Oh, it was a process. It is easier now.
What does that process entail?
It is easier now. So I've been to some developer events, like at GDC. Nintendo, had a thing for developers to like come and ask questions. Like, hey, this was in 2017, so this is like the week before the Switch launched at that GDC.
Oh wow, that was...
Yeah, they just.
And when did the game launch?
This game launched last fall, so 2019. I wasn't working on it as far back as that, but the story goes back that far because you at that time, 2017 or earlier even, like 2015, 2016, you could sign up to be a Nintendo developer, at one point they did whitelist everyone who requested. This was back in the early Wii U days, and I do remember I got a phone call. It must have been 2015 or 2016. I got a phone call from someone at Nintendo. It was like, hi, this is someone at Nintendo. And I was like, okay, crazy. And they approved my developer request. And all that really means is that I can like access their forums and, buy a dev kit, right? And this is for Wii U. And at that point, the games I was working on, there's no way I could port it to those consoles. I didn't have the tech stack that would work. So I just had a developer account, couldn't really do anything with it. And then when the Switch comes along, the process kind of repeated itself. By that point, you didn't need to have approval anymore. You can just sign up for a dev account and then buy a Wii U dev kit. And that's not just because the Wii U is doing bad in the market, but because Nintendo slowly opens up its processes over time. They've done this for multiple generations. But it's never been more open than it was then, or it is finally again now. But then when the Switch comes out, again they say, hey, just send us an email or something. Like the process was even more obscure than it was when I had applied to be a developer. I think there was like a form I filled out. There wasn't anything like that this time. It was just send us an email. And I remember going to these developer events. I'm gonna lower the volume a little bit more here.
Sure.
Because I feel like I'm sort of yelling. So
all good.
So going to these sort of developer meetups and stuff at GDC or other events, and just talking to them, I would just say like, okay, so we'd all ask like, what's the process? And it's like they're like, just send us an email. Like it's literally all. It was so you don't want to believe it because it's like it's got to be more official than that, right? But you do send them an email and you don't hear back, right? So you don't really know if it makes any sense. Fun. But the truth is that is exactly what it was. I sent them an email. I said, this is the game I'm working on. And by this point, I was pitching them Widget Satchel because the tech stack for this is a Unity game, so it was much simpler process to port this to consoles that I knew that was supported versus the other projects I was working on. And so it was just a little bit like a one-page pitch deck, some information, some graphics that we'd already worked up. The game was probably only a couple months into development by this point. But we had a little like video trailer thing of the earliest versions, and it was probably like maybe 2 months, maybe 90 days before I heard back, and it was oh, hey, we got your email. Go ahead and send us a pitch deck in this exact format. So what they did was they sent me a PDF for Graceful Explosion Machine, which is it was a launch title for the Switch. That was an indie title, so it wasn't published on Nintendo or anything. But I guess they asked that developer if that was be okay. So that's the sample they sent to me and probably to a lot of other people. That was just a PDF pitch deck. Now, and they said this is exactly the information we want from you. And so I was like, I already sent them all that information. I thought I did a pretty good job formatting my initial contact, knowing literally nothing about it. But I think what they were doing is they were just processing the requests, right? So they were getting all these emails, and just one by one, they were going through it as fast as they could, I imagine, and then sending the please pitch. I don't know if there was any screening process by that point. It's kind of black boxed. I like to think that there wasn't a process, that they were just replying to everybody just in the order that they received. That's my guess. I think it can be really easy when you sort of get into the walled garden to sort of think you're a big shot, but I'm trying to avoid that impulse. Anyway, so I sent them. I got that email on a Friday, and I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to impress these people because maybe that's important. Because I already had all the information they wanted in basically the exact form they needed it. I just needed to put it in that 2-page PDF, like literally exactly what they were asking for, instead of just the information they were asking for. So I took that information, I put it into a snazzy PDF presentation, and sent it to them like Sunday morning, or Monday morning, like late Sunday night. Like thinking like when they get into work on Monday, I will respond to this email, and who knows if they'll even notice that the response was quick, or they are just checking all responses. But I thought, just a sign of go-getterism. And like 12 hours later, I got a response saying, "Oh, you're approved for development kit access." So again, I don't know if they were just saying like, "Oh, we asked for information. They knew how to reply to the email, and so then there we go." Like I don't know if there was any kind of, I don't know what the screening process was, because by this point it was 2018 at this point, and they had already said that they were planning to open up. They were really heavily curated that first year. Like no indies could get on. It was very like a rough time for indies who were like, feeling like, oh, my game is perfect for Switch. And so by 2018, I think they were letting more and more people in. And so who knows what their standards were at that time. But the really good news now is that the process is much more formalized than it was when I did it. So today, if you want to get your game on Switch, you go to developer.nintendo.com, and you fill out a form. So it's very much like it was when I applied in those old Wii U days. And from what I understand, the process is much more open now. They really just need to know that you mean business, that you're not, that you're not just a hobbyist. As far, I don't think they need anything really fancy. I think they are just saying like, it's a robust, mature platform now. Everybody is welcome as long as you can cross your T's and dot your I's. So if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know if it's good enough, or I don't know if my prototype is ready, I think you should not worry about that. I'm fairly certain you'll be good. I'm sure they still do reject some applications. I wouldn't be surprised if they have some standards still. But the thing is like if you have put together a build that runs, then you are a good developer and you deserve a Nintendo Dev Kit. So I think they feel that now too. So anybody who is making a Unity game in particular, because the documentation, the plugins, all that stuff is very well. It's not that difficult. A Switch is basically an Android device. So other than performance considerations, which I had a lot of dealing with this game, you shouldn't have any extra difficulty doing it. The dev kits are not as expensive as, say, a PS4 dev kit is, and unfortunately I can't say how much it is because that's part of the NDA process. Things I'm not allowed to say, which is, if you listen to some episodes of Nice Games Club where I talk about NDAs, NDAs are the worst, and there's no reason that you should not know how much a dev kit costs, but I can't tell you. But it's not bad. Sure. I can tell you that much. So I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's interested. The actual process, the sort of the developer backend part, it can be kind of daunting. Nintendo has a lot of restrictions about in order to approve builds. They have a process called lot check, which people have probably heard of. But it's really, even if you're not like successful on a Nintendo platform, or you're not like, if you think you're going to be more successful on Steam, for example, going through the process with Nintendo, at least in my experience, really does teach you a discipline. And I recommend it to a lot of indie devs for that reason alone. Although I will say Widget Satchel has definitely sold a lot better on Switch than it has on PC by like a factor of 2,
Okay.
which has been pretty exciting.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that a lot of indie devs have had a lot of success on Steam. It's maybe not quite to the degree that it was originally when the platform first came out, and indie devs were making up a lot of the platform's overall games library at first, but
Yeah.
I think to this day it's still a very popular or a very attractive proposition to get your indie game on Switch for sure.
Well, think of it this way. I don't. This is probably not going to be the right number, but like something like 100 games launch on Steam every day, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
It might be more than that. There are fewer than, I think there's fewer than 5,000 games on Switch total. Even
Sure.
today.
So you're a lot less likely to get lost to all the noise.
Yeah, and the discovery process on the eShop is pretty miserable. Like if you're, it's hard to search for things. There's not, the categories are not really, it's very crude compared to like the very robust system that say Steam has, or even like Xbox and PlayStation have a much better sort of store. But the fact that there are orders of magnitude fewer titles matters. Makes it a lot easier. So like, so I don't have a problem with like the store being not super discoverable, just because there's just fewer games, and that's just, it is a numbers game at a certain point. But the thing is, like, there's tons of games on Switch that are like 99 cents, right? Like, it's still home to what is sort of frequently described as shovelware. But that's fine. I definitely believe the democratization is good, and if that means your game gets a little bit lost, then that's okay, because those that opening up benefited you in the first place. So there's always two sides of those coins.
For sure. Mm-hmm. I'm so bad at these kinds of puzzles, dude. I don't pay enough attention.
Man, the playtesting on this one was really, really fun.
Yeah, do you get the logic?
Yeah, it was really cool, because there are definitely types of players who will just hammer at it till they get it. They want those 20 widgets. They just want them so bad. And then there are kids, especially. They have a lot of tolerance for this kind of thing, which is really kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then then there's the completionists, of course, as well. But what's great about Widget Satchel, and one of our design pillars, was that nothing should ever stymie you. So if you can't beat this puzzle, all that's keeping you from moving on is your desire to complete it. That is a type of frustration, right? Like being offered an open door as a tempting way to give up on something can be its own challenge. To sort of like, knowing that you can give up is something that you don't always want.
Right.
But that's what Widget Satchel has. Widget Satchel never asks you to complete a puzzle. It wants you to, but it never makes you. You can beat the game without solving any of that stuff. And that's why we call it a Metroidvania Lite. It's a game where when you unlock different doohickeys, and you can access new areas of the game, get all the socks. It has a lot of Metroidvania style elements. You even can backtrack a little bit. It's not a principal part of the design. But at the same time, we wanted to make it remove some of that frustrations. We wanted to make it a game that would be challenging to beat for a child, but one that and easy to beat for like a long-time player of 2D action games. But a game that is like punishingly difficult if you want to get every little thing. So that's a sort of a part of replayability that we wanted to have, because it's a 3-4 hour game, a little shorter if you have a lot of experience, and you can speed run it like 30-40 minutes. But we wanted to have people try and try again.
Sure. What is the little crouch thing
that
there?
movement there? So when you get the magnet, that crouch will engage the magnet.
Okay, gotcha.
But until then, it's just a button you can press. Steven, Charles' brother, who worked on this game, he wanted a button that you could press that did nothing. That's sort of a thing that he likes in games, is you can just, when you're waiting on a moving pillar, you can just mash a button.
Sure.
It's a thing he likes to do in games, so he made sure that there was something like that in here. You're not giving up on it, huh?
Yeah, I'm so confused. I also just kind of don't know where to go. Wait. I'm dumb. I'm embarrassing myself. Alright. Let's see here. I am a poor boy. So I'm going to move on.
So you'll see in these doohickey rooms, this room here, when you got the boots, changed to teach you how to use the boots. And because you didn't buy anything, this room is just a switch and a door. So one of the things we wanted to do with the doohickeys is we didn't want to tell people how to use it. We didn't want to have a modal that popped up. You'll notice in the tutorial level at the beginning, we do have a lot of modals that explain how widgets work. And like in Emery, there's certain a benefit to just telling the player what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then asking them to do it. And I think I think that's underrated in video games. I think there's everyone wants to be Mario 1-1. You know what I mean? But the thing is we always have more mechanics than that. There are so many different types of games that players bring a lot of their own knowledge and a lot of their own assumptions. And so sometimes you really just got to say, this is how this game works.
For sure.
But for doohickeys, we wanted it to be a little bit more mysterious, and we wanted players to have to learn how to do it, rather than... Because if we told them, but because the game doesn't ever make them use it, telling them how to use it won't ensure that they do use it, right? So in your tutorial, you have this great thing where you explain a concept, and then the player has to do it to move on. That's something we do similar here. So when you buy a doohickey, you're then put into a room where you cannot escape. It's the only time in Widget Satchel you're ever anywhere that you can't escape until you figure out how to use that doohickey. And we make it relatively easy. There's no way to lose a widget or get hurt or anything in those scenarios. And that took a ton of playtesting too, because we weren't spelling it out. We had to make it intuitive, and man, there were a lot of things that I thought would made perfect sense, but players just didn't understand. And I'm like, how is everyone so dumb? And of course, as soon as I tweaked it in a way based on what I was seeing, then suddenly everybody got it, and I was like, oh, okay, I was the dumb one.
Yeah, no, you definitely got to challenge your own understandings, and that's by no means easy to do. It might sound easy, but it's not.
It's hard to be wrong about something you invented, you know?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, for sure. And then playing Widget Satchel, after having just shown Emery a few minutes ago, it just kind of shows to the volume of breadth that there can be between platformers. Like the buttons might do similar things, but just the jump force and the inertia of the character and everything just can make it feel so much different. And it's there's nothing groundbreaking about that discussion point, but I mean it is fun to kind of see how different things that look similar on the surface can actually feel when you get them in your hands.
And so in Widget Satchel, a lot of it is it's not a precision platformer. There are platforming parts, but we wanted to make the character feel kind of loose and almost a little bit wily. And so just the nature of the narrative really helps us with that. And so our level design had to work with that as well. We had to make it okay to fall off stuff. We had to make the fact that you jump maybe a little higher than you want to, or you're a little bit snappier sometimes than would feel natural in a Mario game or a more precision type platformer. All those things had to work together, and a lot of that was in service of the feeling of being a ferret running around. When you land, you almost 50% of the time you tumble around. And that was just to tell the player, it's okay to move, to flop around a little bit. That's your nature. And so for the player who wants to repeat the game and they get really good at it, then kind of going against your nature and doing a speed run of the game has a different kind of challenge than other games. And that it took a while to get right. That was another thing that Steven really did a lot of, is getting the jump feel to sort of work at different weights as your satchel gets heavier.
Oh yeah, I did notice that the satchel will affect your ability to jump higher and move faster. That's definitely an interesting mechanic that I don't see. I can't think of any other game at the top of my head that does it. I'm sure they're out there, but
yeah, it's the core mechanic of the game. But when you're just kind of barreling through, you get hit so often that you almost never have widgets. And so
I've noticed that.
right, and so and that is you can play the whole game that way, right? Because the game doesn't require you to collect widgets. But if you're a little methodical, if you actually do think a little bit, but the point is that it's actually against the nature of the character to be too precise about it. And so that's definitely one of those things where we wanted the game to be to naturally feel a little wild, and then as you spend a little more time with it, you get a little bit more precision. And you kind of feel more comfortable in Sprocket's socks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely. Oh, there are a lot of guys in here. So let me ask you: is there any kind of game that you drew inspiration from for Widget Satchel, or anything in particular, or not really?
I don't know if we have a specific inspiration point. A lot of this game started out as a game jam game. And so it kind of took a bunch of random pieces of inspiration that we have not tracked. But we did talk a lot about like Metroidvanias, and mostly in how we wanted to sort of subvert that. On like, you know, how like that feeling of like entering a space and staying there a little while. And that's common to a lot of those types of games. So it was a lot of genre inspiration, not necessarily specific. After the fact, definitely I've noticed that like Sprocket does share a little bit of the DNA of characters like Ratchet, from Ratchet and Clank.
Sure.
You know, a furry creature holding a wrench. That is not lost on me.
Yeah.
But at the time I didn't really think about that. Although I am a fan of that series.
Yeah, no, that's a great series to kind of liken yourself to a little bit. Who did the art here?
This is all me.
Okay, nice. You use like Photoshop or something like that?
A lot of the drawing I did in Adobe Animate, which used to be called Flash. I just use it as a vector drawing tool, and animation, of course. So that's why a lot of the art has a sort of a clean, flat look, and then there's some sort of depth and shading. But it's sort of very deliberate.
Okay. Kind of makes me think of like the Kurzgesagt YouTube channel a little bit.
I don't know
if you're
that
familiar
one.
with that at all. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they're the guys who do like the in a nutshell, kind of like short YouTube videos that like explain pretty high level overviews of some pretty advanced scientific topics. So it's
neat.
it's a fun one. But
I'll look into that.
yeah. Let's see. I have like no power-ups except for the ability to land on their heads.
Mm-hmm. And so one of the other pillars of the game is it's about exploration and goofing off. It's not about defeating enemies. So you can attack the enemies if you get the wrench, but they come back, they pop right back to life. So and like with when you're talking about Emery about making sure enemies were always accessible, so you could get that achievement for defeating them all. A lot of the enemies in this game are puzzle pieces. They're required to defeat or to accomplish certain things. So we needed to make sure that you couldn't actually get them off their track. So you know, there's very little AI involved. They just go back and forth. There is a type of enemy that will chase you, but for the most part, they're really just cogs in a system. And so we had to make sure that whatever you did to them. Because when you have the magnet, you can move them from platform to platform, for example. We need to make sure that they didn't ever break any puzzles, because it's kind of it's not quite Swiss watch precision, but it's closer to that than I was expecting.
Yeah. How long did it take you guys to make this?
About 2 calendar years from start to finish. It was a whirlwind weekend for Ludum Dare 40, and we had a lot of our initial concepts then. And some of the art actually there's maybe 1 or 2 pieces of art that haven't changed from that. But then it was 2 years after that till launch day in November last year.
Okay. That's not a bad timeline.
No, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this project, is to because I had been working on a game for years by the time we started this, and I was like, I want to do a game. Really, I wanted to do a game in 6 months. Was the plan, and then I wanted to see like, maybe I can explore, what it takes to get on Switch or PlayStation or something. And so that was a big part of the reason that I wanted to do this project. 2 years is actually longer than I wanted to spend on it. But you know, scope grows. Everyone's familiar with that story.
Yeah, everything
but
or not everything, but some things take longer than you expect.
Yeah.
That whole song and dance.
Mm-hmm. But at for the size the game is and the amount of like depth it has, I'm pretty pleased with the 2 years that we spent on it. It was, I mean, those last months that were really rough on me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was a team. We had, a lot of the design is, especially, is credited to everyone on the team. But I was the lead on it and did most of the development, especially in the last year. And it was real rough because I was always telling myself, like, I can't spend 3 years on this game.
Right.
Like as much as I fell in love with it over the course of that first year, there was just, and it's really difficult because you have to weigh like what the game needs versus what you need, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I did. It was a pretty rough final 6 months getting it out. But I don't know that I would, like, if I had been a little lighter on myself, and let's say I was only putting the game out now, I don't know that I would have been any happier with that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. I can relate. I'm actually approaching the 4-year mark with Emery.
Oh yeah.
Believe it or not.
I believe
largely
it.
Just because, like I said, it was just a completely different game when I started it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm obviously way happier with where it is now, but you know, it definitely took a lot of time to make all the iterations that it took to evolve it to what it is now.
Yeah.
And I kind of made the creative decision a long time ago that I didn't want to build, or I didn't want to have any levels in the game that I, as a designer of levels, didn't have access to the full suite of the game's features available to me when I created the level.
Yeah.
So like, not every level will use every feature, but I would like it, at least like that option.
Yeah.
And so, you know, being a lot younger at the time, I didn't necessarily understand the implications of that tenet of my design, but here we are a few years later, and fortunately it's not the biggest concern anymore. I actually do have a lot of the features built, and now I just got to make that content that actually makes it a game, because you know, you need levels to have a game. It's not enough to have a giant sandbox of cool features. So that's what the last few months have been for the Emery side of things. So
yeah.
Definitely looking forward to showing off the next demo, because I definitely have a few more abilities already programmed out and everything, but
nice.
Just the content isn't there quite yet.
Yeah, there's always that rough point of having it like, oh, I figured it out. Now it's just a matter of like a bunch of labor to like showcase it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the game I'm working on now is Metro Nexus, which is a game that I was working on before I started Widget Satchel and completely put aside. So when I was working on Widget Satchel, I was working on nothing else. And so now that I'm back to Metro Nexus, it's like you're describing, it's now many, many years since I started work on it. And so even though it wasn't like I was working full time all that time, it does feel like it's a really old project.
For sure.
And so I'm starting to get that anxiety of like, I gotta move it forward now. Now's the time, you know?
Yeah.
And like knowing like, oh, these parts of it are so perfect and exactly what I want it to be. But in order for anybody to see that, I need to like spend 4 months making content to showcase those systems.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's a certain creative part of your brain needed to create thoughtful levels is not a part of at least in my experience, is not a part of my brain that's always on. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard to get in that level designing. Kind of hard to put that level designer hat on sometimes.
Mm-hmm. The way we did Widget Satchel was and you can kind of tell the way sort of the sort of there's, even though it's kind of it's open space, you can kind of tell it's broken up into rooms. And what we did is we had a number of level designers on the project, so everybody was kind of like claimed a section. And then once we made these little pieces, and they were all based on a particular mechanic, or it was a puzzle, or it was a platforming area, or it was a challenge against the bots, or some sort of single notion for each little area. Then we started putting the areas together and which ones sort of were thematically similar. And then we stitched them all together, and then there was a really long process of like sort of making these little alcoves and making it feel like a real place, a real space. And so that was it was a pretty good process, and ultimately was efficient for us. And what was the best thing about it was that it's that sort of like two minds are better than one sort of situation. Although this was more than two.
Sure.
Where I would build these like mechanics, like, oh, there's a floating platformer. Here's a switch that can move on a platformer. Here's these sorts of pieces, and so use those toys to make your little sections. And so the level designers would do that, and then I would get I'd say like one of our level designers said, hey, can I put a conveyor belt on top of a lift? And I was like, well, no, but why shouldn't you be able to? So I quickly worked up a way for that to happen, and then suddenly she had this like a bunch of ideas for this section, and then what we ended up doing was making that like a part that is very that is themed in that area in a later level, and that process only really worked because of the sort of the workflow we did for it, which was really fun. And you end up making choices about the overall game that feel kind of arbitrary. They feel like a result of the happenstance of your collection of the work that all of you are doing together. But then when you do put it together and then you step back, it really works as a cohesive whole, as if it was some like fifth person's idea. It just contained the notions of the four of us or whatever. And so it's really fun to see some of these things because I didn't design most of it, at least at the micro level. And so it ends up being, it's great also for playtesting because we can all, it's easier to know if something's working if you can evaluate a piece of the game you didn't make,
Yeah. That does make sense for sure, actually.
Yeah. And then overall we had some general like notions of this is what a Widget Satchel level looks like, and that we sort of all agreed on. And then we also had this process that evolved a little bit. So like a Widget Satchel level should always, you always knock things over, but you don't blow anything up, right? You're a mischief maker, you're not a jackass, right? Sprocket's not Untitled Goose Game, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so we had that sort of general feeling, but then suddenly we were like, oh, but it would be really cool if you could totally blow up all this stuff in this area. So we had to sort of evolve the definition of what a Widget Satchel level was from like a codified like set of rules into a feeling, right? That like we still want that feeling to be there, but now the feeling comes from the things we build rather than like a checklist of like this is what a level needs to have or not have. And so it's a real organic process. I don't know if that describes it very well, but
yeah,
it was one of the things I was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did. I mean, I think the hard part was stitching it all together. That was a ton of work, but just the reward of seeing all these unique ideas kind of work together was really fun in a way that like you don't. It doesn't really hit you over the head with it, but if you are going for a speed run or if you're trying to get all this stuff, you can start to see those thematic connections between different levels.
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely see how it would be really awesome to have like a collaborative process with a group of people. That's definitely been one of my struggles as like a solo dev is trying to go through all of those iterations kind of by myself, and then if I ever needed like some feedback on if something was working or not, I would have to seek outside help. And I mean I have a group of friends that is very supportive of what I'm trying to do, and they're always willing to provide feedback at when I reach out to them usually.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've done it both ways, and they are both great. Like, I mean, they both have their advantages and disadvantages, and the grass is always greener,
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not trying to rag on the solo dev approach by any stretch. I mean, there's definitely a lot of gratification about of doing things on your own, and I mean, when you do things on your own, you have complete creative control, which is, I mean, what more can you ask for, honestly, as someone who loves to imagine their own games and stuff like that. But then having to put in all of that work on your own too is definitely a burden that can definitely be very hard to carry at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, well, we're running up on 7:30, or we just passed it, in fact, and I'm seeing in the chat that is Ben back?
Indeed, Ben is back. He's waiting to see if you guys would play Death Drives a Bus.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, well, let's get
And
Ben
Ryan,
on the line.
Continue going. I just wanted to let you know. Keep going, Ryan. I'm having Wi-Fi issues. Please keep going.
Come on. All right, time to stall for Peter a little bit here.
Yeah.
I meant all night, Ryan. I'm just saying. If you're.
I can hang out till about 8.
Cool.
But
Cool.
it's been great hanging out with you guys.
Yeah. Peter, is Ben able to join us on the voice chat?
Let's find out. Let me ping him.
That is not a requirement. That would be nice. I do want to ask him a little bit about Death Drives the Bus, which is his new game. And it's available on itch, and he's getting it on Steam pretty soon. And I hear he's looking to bring it to Switch, but he can tell us more about that if he's interested. I've been working with Ben to get his previous game, Color Jumper, on Switch. I ported that game to that. Now that once I got Widget Satchel on Switch, but my next game is still, at least a year away from release. I'm like, well, I have all this knowledge now. What am I going to do with it? And so I was thinking, well, I think I will reach out and see if other developers would like to get their existing games on the platform. And Ben was the first one I spoke to about it, and we've had a really good working relationship, getting his game updated, getting he's been like tweaking some of the levels. We updated a lot of the style for it, and just kind of like it's not quite a 2.0, but it's a new version of the game, and it's going to be at 2DCon, and it will be out on Switch that week. So we're going to kind of hype it up at that event as well. So.
Premiered at 2DCon.
That's right. Speak of the devil, it's Ben Burns.
Hey everybody, how are you?
Hey man.
Hello.
Well, Ryan has taken a final crack at the second half here of level 3 in Widget Satchel, but as soon as he tires of that, which can be at any time.
Yeah, you can take control whenever you want.
Oh,
right,
no,
well,
I would rather somebody else play Death Drives the Bus. I know the answer to all the puzzles. But if
boy.
nobody wants to take the wheel, I'm more than happy to do
Dude, I'm such a bad puzzle solver, dude. Being the guinea pig.
No, Mayo, the culprit was Tycho. Our baby kitty, who is also the biggest kitty. He pushed through the screen door last night, and we found him outside this morning, and that scared the heck out of me. So I had to repair the screen door. I finished my my music stream a little early, and I ran to Menards to get everything I needed, and I was spending time fixing that. And so hopefully he won't end up outside anymore. Thankfully he didn't know what to do out there, so all he did was cry and get back in. So, but yeah. It's been a day.
Bit of a scare. That's rough.
Yeah.
Peter. Peter. We lost Peter.
I think he logged off.
He was saying he's having some Wi-Fi problems. All right.
Oh.
Well, he left me alone to run the damn thing. All right. I can do Death Drives the Bus. I was playing it earlier today. I got through the first dozen or so levels.
Sure.
Although I wouldn't mind seeing Ryan take a crack at it before he leaves us at 8. I mean, you did promise us you'd be bad at it, so I always like to see that. Developers should always see players who are bad at their games, because then
exactly.
you know you can if someone's great at it, then your game is always going to come off well when it's played by an expert.
Sure.
All right, Ryan, I'm going to get you out of here, and we're going to load up Death Drives the Bus. What do you say?
Do it.
All right. You're still connected, so this should all still work. But as is in the previous games, we get some hiccups sometimes. So
That's all good. It's not a very, very complicated game. Unfortunately, I don't have the most recent build, which has controller support and stuff in there, so it is keyboard driven.
Ryan, I'm going to have to give you
a
keyboard access, which I've done, so you should be able to use the keyboard now.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
My keyboard is very much mechanical, so if it is translating to the stream, please let me know.
Well, it's turn-based, so there's not a whole lot of action. It's all based on your inputs, so you don't have to mash the keys if you don't want to.
Okay.
It's WASD instead of arrow keys, if that's throwing you off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And death. That's okay. That was it. All right. That's a solid tutorial. All right. Let me see.
Ben, I know what you're thinking right now.
What's
Which
that?
is-
Well, I
Which
I have
is
a
he
bit
didn't
of
see
a
the whole
delay on mine,
tutorial.
but- yeah, I have a bit of a delay on mine. I should refresh. Maybe that'll help.
Oh yeah, I suppose if you want to connect via Parsec, then you'll the delay is a
Oh
little
yeah, I
less.
should do that.
If you're just watching the stream, then yeah, you're a couple seconds behind what's actually happening. It's not too bad.
No, my stream was like 30 seconds behind.
Oh really? Wow.
It's kind of weird for Twitch. I just refreshed, so.
Okay. Yeah,
You
you know,
skipped the tutorial, didn't you?
one of the things that bums me out about Mixer going away, not that we were really planning to move our events to Mixer, but just like Mixer had a much better latency, and that was one of its big features. And I was thinking like, well, you know, maybe that might be a better option for us later. But of course, you know, a bunch of us said that, and then Mixer died.
Yeah.
So it's kind of everybody's fault. But yeah, Twitch has always been like 5-ish seconds. It's always felt like that.
It's
for
better.
our events.
It's better if you are an affiliate or a partner, I believe.
Okay. We did just make affiliate recently, which is hilarious because
Congrats.
we're none of us who run these events are Twitch people, but you know we have an audience because we you know been holding events for a long time, so we made affiliate very quickly, and don't know what to do with that power. But yeah, the lag it's a couple seconds. It's not the worst thing in the world, but like at last week's monthly the main member meeting, Peter was hosting it and he was streaming. And he has a setup where he delays his stream by like 30 seconds to a minute. I don't know that I think it's just for like so we can shut it down or if there's any problems or something. It's sort of like best practices in certain types of streaming environments. So he had it set up that way. And a bunch of us kept asking like, wow, the lag's really bad today. But it was actually on purpose. But we're not doing that now, so you shouldn't have a 30-second lag.
No, and I think it was just Twitch being. I had the browser window open forever.
Oh, sure.
So how do I log in? I should have done this Parsec stuff like 3 days ago, but I didn't.
So, well, we can talk it out on air for anybody else in the chat who wants to join us to play. So you download the Parsec client, you get a Parsec account. You sign up with email just like any other thing, and then once you got the client open and you're logged in, you go to friends and you can make a friend request. And you can search for IGDATC, that's the username that we use here. And then you submit that friend request. I will then get a notification that says, hey, you got a pal waiting. I will approve it. And then once you do that, then in the computers tab of the Parsec client, you will see Icebox, which is the name of this machine. And then you can connect to that. And then I will then on my end see another notification and I will approve your access request. So it's a couple of steps, but it's not that complicated.
Yeah, Last Geek, these aren't timed puzzles. They're based on movement. That counter that goes down is essentially your gas. So every time...
I did go back for the tutorial once you mentioned that there was more.
I'm gonna have to I have to go away from focus away from the app here to approve Ben's friend request.
Sure.
And I've done that. So Ben, you now should be friended. So go ahead and make that request to Icebox, and I'll give you access, and then I'll focus back on the app.
Getting a connection failure. Is there a limit on how many people can connect?
If there is, we have not reached it because only Ryan is connected right now.
Okay.
Parsec is not like 100% great. When it works, it feels like magic, and then when it doesn't, it feels like everything is wrong with the world. So there you go. I see your request. I've accepted it. So now you just have a controller plugged into my computer basically. And I'll give you keyboard access too in case you wanted to take your own game here for a spin. But Ryan, you can get back to it now.
You can get back to it. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And so the other advantage for listeners who are wondering why we're connecting Ben is so that he can actually see the stream of Ryan playing without having to watch it on Twitch, which is a little bit faster.
Yeah. So I can talk about the game a little bit if you'd like.
Please do.
Yeah, so this is a quarantine game, for lack of a better term. I started this in February. My wife had recently picked up Animal Crossing, and since that's a single-player game, I spent a lot of time just kind of hanging out with her and not necessarily playing any games. And this was essentially something that I could do in my spare time while I wasn't looking stuff up for her on, just the wikis or whatever for Animal Crossing. So I started with the idea, it's like, can I make a road system that kind of dynamically generates based off of, the nodes and adjacent nodes, like how it would swap and rotate the sprites based off of, what's adjacent to it. And then after that, I just kind of had this little inkling of an idea where you're deaf, but your horse is sick, and you have to drive a bus instead. Oops, I accidentally hit escape. That's my
all
bad.
good.
I was trying to make sure I saw Steam chat as well, but I can't look at chat. But that's okay. So you'll have to pass any questions on to me. You can play if you want. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's all good. I'm just trying to think about this one a little bit here.
Yeah. Just kind of like Color Jumper, it starts easy and then it just gets more and more difficult as time goes on, which is, I guess, most puzzle games. But yeah, this one kind of started off as a weird idea, and it iterated over a couple months, and then kind of ended up the way it was. Initially, it came out with 30 levels, and that's been increased to 50, which is kind of the end state of the game right now. And yeah, I'm really proud of it, considering it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I wanna make a game, but I don't want to spend 2 years on it like I did with Color Jumper. This is another thing that I can put in my cap, which makes me happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, this introduces the roads that break after you
Drive
over them, which is if you're a Minnesota driver, you'll understand that.
I am indeed a Minnesota driver.
This one is definitely a little bit of a ramp in difficulty, but I can say that they're all doable. Although designing puzzle levels is something that I have a love-hate relationship with. Like I love making puzzle games, but designing the levels in a way that they can be beaten can be really frustrating sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I'm thinking about we were playing Widget Satchel just in that 5 switches puzzle that Ryan was tempted to go back and try a couple of times. That's one of those ones where it's like, oh, once it works, is it so brain dead obvious that it isn't worth the trouble? You know what I mean? Like there's a certain kind of like a pull, do the thing in the right order kind of puzzle, which is what this game is. And it can be really, I would be very nervous about having something that is either like too difficult to solve or too easy to solve, right? And satisfying neither way. I think that's the real challenge of a thing like this. And what I enjoyed playing through this game was that as soon as I figured out the core idea, it's like, oh, I don't mix my souls. I get the ones to go to heck, and then I get the ones that haven't, or the other way around. And that's one piece of the puzzle. Like, which do I go first? All right, now that I figure that out, how do I do my first route? And in the case of these broken roads, it's like that means my second route is going to be impacted by that. And so ultimately, it is relatively simple, but like it has just the right amount, I think, of sort of step-by-step solving, that it's not a total brain teaser, but it's really satisfying. And I really like that about it, because a game like this could risk just being like, oh, this then that, just done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think you've done a really good job of making something with a very simple mechanic have that kind of like satisfaction from solving it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. and that's kind of the problem with me as the level designer, where I'm like, oh, it's obvious it's this and then this and then this, like duh. But when I had the luxury with this game to like make the first half of it and have a 2-month break, and then when I got to this level specifically, I struggled at it for quite a while because I couldn't remember the solution. And this one is a little bit more difficult, but I made the game so you could go to any level you wanted at any time, specifically because I didn't want to gate the content. That was one thing that I had with Color Jumper, where I had like, well, you had to beat this level to go to the next level. And I think that if I were to do that differently now, I would just make it, you can go to any level you want at any time, simply because it's like, you're there to experience the game. It's not necessarily, well, you have to progress. And if you go to the end levels, they're going to be really hard, and you need to better understand how to use the mechanics that are presented to you. I had a lot of fun putting this one together. I still don't remember the answer to this puzzle, so I'm sorry I can't help you.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one.
You know, it's funny you talk about that sort of gating levels, and comparing this to Color Jumper, because Color Jumper has you have your skip tokens, right? You get like 6 of them or something like that, and so that's a really fun mechanic because they're like precious. Like if you use one early, because you don't know how valuable they're going to be later, and so I like that dynamic. That's really cool.
Thank you. I can't remember what game I stole that from, but I definitely was inspired by some game to do something like that, because it was a common complaint that there were some pretty tough walls in Color Jumper that, you know, if you wanted to keep playing the game and keep progressing, but there's just one specific level that's just besting you. And I got the idea. This was after like the first release of the game too. Like it was after the game was out. A lot of people suggested that I do this, and I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. Thank you. Looks like you got it. Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, well,
that's a tough one.
Yeah. Let's see here.
What I like about because you have the counter and you can kind of see how many tiles are away, is that you know you're gonna get it before you get it, and so it feels, you know what I mean? I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I was gonna say HyperDot does it where when you complete a certain amount of levels, you unlock the next 5 levels.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's another really good way of doing it.
Yeah, and so so you never have to decide which ones that you don't waste a token or something on skipping, so it has a different dynamic. But at a certain point, you can't keep skipping levels, right? Because eventually you will have not beaten enough to reach the next batch. And so it's almost an identical mechanic, but it's expressed a little bit differently. And I think I very much love seeing systems like that, and like how they lean into the overall feeling of a game, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I feel accessibility is you can hit space to restart, by the way. I feel that accessibility is incredibly important to like games in general these days, and I would rather that people play the games rather than getting like really frustrated and then just like rage quitting because they can't beat one level and then they're not experiencing the rest of the game. I feel that it's more important to allow people to just play at their own pace these days, rather than trying to force them through a path that you deem is the appropriate one.
Right. And if the player's invested, they'll want to beat all the levels.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
like that's and if you can't motivate them to do that, then forcing them to isn't going to be better, right?
So
like there's certain.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there's which isn't to say that you should just make that all games should work this way, right? There's value to like doling things out in a certain in batches or in a certain order, or even in like preserving surprises. So it's not one or the other, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna mention that in the upper right hand corner, I took all of my Patreon subscribers and I had their names chosen randomly as well as random occupations.
I did see that. Sick Vape Tricks is a pretty embarrassing way to die, I gotta say.
I saw one was Volcano and one was Bees, which was pretty good.
You have to pick up a soul. Like every spirit that you pick up, it changes that stuff up there. So it is essentially giving a little story for everybody that you pick up.
I also like how the terrain randomly changes every time you restart.
Yeah. The art style was something that I really wanted to try. I've never done 1-bit art, this is like pseudo 1-bit, but it's kind of 1-bit art. It's very hard, like harder than I expected it to be. Pretty much the entirety of the game, like everything that you see in the main map, that's all in like a 128 by 128 sprite sheet. And everything's just all crammed in there. Obviously, like the spirit card and the bus and stuff on the right hand side are different sprites, but just finding a way to just cram everything into such a tiny space was a really interesting challenge. And I always wanted to try like pixel art and 1-bit art and stuff like that. And it's been an experience to figure it all out.
I've been working on a project for the Playdate, which is a handheld device that has a 1-bit screen.
Yeah,
and
that one's made by Pocket Operator. Who does that? Teenage
Panic.
Engineering.
Teenage Engineering helped engineer the device. Panic, the developer, they published Untitled Goose Game. They're kind of they're like a weird random company now. They make a lot of things, but that screen is like 400 by 240. So it's for a 1.5-inch screen. It's relatively high resolution, and so I'm learning a lot about dithering.
Oh yeah.
You can. What's nice is in the API you can artificially have the resolution. So a game like this would be perfect for something like that. I mean, you have to deal with some of the. You have these bright colors, which is really valuable in the style here. So you'd have to accommodate that somehow. But it's been really interesting to work with a device like that and take art and like decide like, is it going to be kind of like sort of flat and sort of stencil like, because there's a lot of really great. I mean, that's what this game is, right? These sort of like stencil-like icons, and that has this real like sort of clarity to it. Or do I want to have kind of like use a lot of dithering and use sort of that faux shading, sort of like trick the eye, and where can I combine those techniques? You know, it's been. I'm not a pixel artist, but I am a visual artist, and so. It's been a lot of education, because it's always been like, oh yeah, pixel art's great, but it's not for me. But now I kind of have to, and so I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. If you want a hint on this one, there are 2 drop-off.
Oh, there are. I literally just noticed that.
Yeah.
Oh, so now you don't have to do it one after the other.
Yep.
Oh, that's very good.
So yeah, I try to introduce all of the mechanics kind of gently, just so it's not overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I just having the basic one where there's 2 drop-off points, and then there's 3 drop-off points, and then there's the broken roads, and there's like it just kind of just keep ramping up and up and up, and you know you pull a lot comprise inspiration, like how to design levels like that from.
I definitely I found myself trying to count the spaces that comprise each of the different routes, trying to be maximally efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I noticed, oh, there's a second gate to heaven, like right there.
Yeah.
So that was my smart guy moment of the night.
It's all good.
That's a great line. And then I realized there was a second gate to heaven right there.
Yeah. Let's yank those guys, I guess. Also, I just tremendously love how much you call it heck.
I was going to call it heck with 2 C's, HECC, but I figured that would be going too far.
That'd be a little too memey.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
But I don't know. I was gonna have it be hell first, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's just make it a little cuter.
Yeah.
Just because it's already kind of a fun little game. Why not?
I can dig it
a little bit more. Yeah.
I find myself, now that I know that it's possible for there to be multiple like entrances, that's like the first thing I check now.
Yeah, the problem with having such a limited palette is that I couldn't really differentiate stuff too much, because there were just, there's only, I think I was using like the ZX7, I can't remember the name of the palette, but it's essentially just all of the RGB colors blasted at either full or none, so you're limited to like I think like 6 or 7 colors total. And that caused a lot of problems when it came to like rendering the sprites, because later in the game there's more obstacles, there's like gas cans that you can pick up which allow you to refill your counter, and all of those things had to have a separate color because they needed to be visible. They needed to have a very clear presence on the screen, and that just kind of left the gates as the same color as the spirits that you pick up. And it was kind of a really tough challenge to figure out how to make all of that work. So as always, I mean, for any, go ahead.
Like the constraints breed creativity, right? Like you basically
Yeah.
set that rule for yourself, and like, well, it suddenly means there's a ton of stuff you can't do, but but you've decided to do that, and so you made that bet, right? And then you force yourself to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly, and that's basically what I was going to say. Where it's just working within limitations allows you to just kind of expand your knowledge and continue to learn things just because you have to.
Yeah.
And it was a good time. I should say that this is currently available online at itch.io, and I can't post that in the chat right now because I'm not able to change my focus, but I will when we're done playing, and I am working on a Steam build right now, so that'll be up on Steam I think early next month.
Cool.
I've been building the store page for like the last 3 days. It's always a good time to just compile a ton of image assets in all sorts of flavors.
And you're, I suppose you're updating the store page for Color Jumper too.
I am, yeah. That's one thing that I'm going to be working on probably tomorrow is
Just
to
drowning
get
in
all of
JPEGs.
Yep, just updating all of the image assets for everything since Color Jumper had a visual update. All of the screenshots are no longer valid, so it's just a big work, a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I mean,
A big work.
yeah, my brain's a little fried today.
Dude, no,
But,
that's an excellent sentiment.
Yeah, but it's overall it's really good. Like I'm super pleased that I was able to kind of get all of this stuff going and moving, and
Yeah.
it's been fun. And I was actually talking about this a little bit on my stream today when I was making music. It's like a lot of people don't understand all of the effort that happens in the background for this stuff. Like they just see it appear on Steam, and they're like, "Oh, cool, a new game." And it's just like, well, no, there's a lot of effort that went into just making that store page look good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun. Like I can't complain about it, but it's an investment of time that I always overlook. The same thing comes with like releasing an album, where I'm like, oh yeah, I just put it out there and it's done. And it's like, well, no, there's like a day of getting the album art right and making sure that like I make commentary for all the albums, like just a text file, and just getting all of that stuff, all of that ephemera related to the project in place is just super time consuming. You can push the cars around.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a Honda Civic.
I'm a safe driver. I try to avoid those collisions.
It does kind of look like a Civic, doesn't it? Like a hatchback.
What's the point of them then? Does he just get in your way, or?
Yeah. Like right here, you can't get that. It was actually a lot of fun to find kind of emergent behavior with those cars, because yeah, you can push them around, but they get in your way in a lot of inconvenient ways. And finding the correct route now is a lot more about planning. You can't just sit at the start of the level and plan unless you have like a galaxy brain and can like predict where count the tiles where the car is going to be moving left and right.
You dirty designer. That was not cool.
Ben, let me know if I'm onto something, but I think when you see the souls destined for heck, that's what you want to go for first. But it seems like maybe this level's fooling you, and you should actually be going for the angels first.
I honestly can't remember. I think in this one you do. I think you do go for the devils first, but you collect them in the other order, so the car is in a different position when you when you go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of going, well, no, you'd have to do it that way. Now I'm confused. Yeah, and sometimes you just have to wait for the car to move. That's entirely possible. But see, you kind of blocked yourself off over there. You can't pick up, you can't drop off now because the you blocked your exit.
Yeah, it feels like your last trip has to be there. So
I think you have to go down and get the devil on the bottom, and then go up and around, and then the car will be out of the way at that point. This is also a little sneaky way of teaching the player that the cars bounce after you break the roads. You can move one more time, I think. Yeah, there you go. Just push them out of the way. Wow, that was a big time savings. I definitely.
Dale asked if you could push the Civic into a pothole.
Yeah.
That's just what she wants to do.
Yeah. So the list of Patreon supporters over there is also the list of people that are the souls in the game.
Yeah.
It's fun trying to find ways to represent the people that support me in the games. I didn't really do it much in Color Jumper, but I have a feeling like in my next game I'm gonna try to like name characters or something after people with their permission, of course.
Yeah. One of the things we did in Widget Satchel was there's a ton of lore in Widget Satchel because I couldn't help myself, and it's not super easily decipherable, but a lot of it is based on the team that made the game. So initials, phrasings. We have all the customizable socks in the game. They're in batches, so there's a bunch of like wool socks, and there's a bunch of like crew socks and of different types. And one of them categories is novelty socks, and those are all of those use art from other games we worked on. And so
that's cool.
There's just a ton of, and like it is there's a real satisfaction about like bringing in just those like personal references, and that's the same here with those Patreon subscribers. It's something for them, you know.
Yeah.
Which is it feels good to do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when I have a pedigree of old games that I've made where I can sneak in Easter eggs like that for like Color Jumper and stuff.
Yeah.
It didn't really fit in this game just because of the limitation on colors, but I definitely will do it in the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ryan, according to your statement earlier, it looks like you're bouncing about now. Is that right?
Yeah, I got some other stuff to do tonight still.
All right. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for sticking around for so long as well.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely fun to play some games and get to know some of you guys a little bit. Definitely looking forward to connecting with some people who have the same interests as I do.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's why we do these IDGA events online now. So you and anyone else in the community. This is just my pitch now. Can join us not just for Twin Cities Playtest, but our main meetings are online as well, and the monthly VR meetups. And of course, there's the Discord and the Slack and all the other millions of ways you can get in touch. The IGDATC.org is brand new. It should be a much more organized way to find your way to our events and our contact information and all that stuff than it was in the past. So anybody who's been looking to get in touch but either found it a little difficult or didn't know where to go, IGDATC.org. So Ryan, we'll see you and Emery in a week and a half-ish. Is that? Am I doing the calendar math correctly? At TVCon.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, take care. Thank you for playing.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
So Peter, I see you're on mute. Are you still having trouble with your connection?
I'm hanging around, but I'm also enjoying just like interacting and posting things in chat.
Okay.
Then asked for me adding a link to the chat, and I did post it. So
nice.
I got you.
Well, I thought maybe there's three of us here, and if Ben, you don't mind sticking around a bit, maybe we can give Fingeance a go. Steven sent me a build today, and I don't think he's with us, but he did want us to play it tonight. So there's three of us. Do you think we can get through a campaign of Fingeance? Do you think we have it in us?
Oh, we can definitely try.
I will find my controller. I haven't played
Fingeance
in like 9 months. I'm looking forward to
wow. There's been some updates recently. Those guys they're pushing to try to get it out this year.
I hope they do. It's such a good game.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
All right.
Although that hard mode though, man, so hard.
It
Jeez.
is very hard.
I like hard mode, but like it beats me a lot.
Does.
Oh, I can alt tab out now that you're doing something. No.
So does Parsec go full screen for you? Is that your problem?
It did go full screen. Yeah, I was just gonna post the link to Edgar's bus.
Well, I already posted it for you, but
Oh,
yes.
well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, here, let me go into settings here and just I shouldn't.
No, you're fine. Like I don't mind it being full screen. It just kind of like it took control of everything when I was using it before, and I didn't want to kick him out of the game.
Huh, that's interesting. There's just a... Oh, I see. Okay, so this is a tip for anybody using Parsec. In the Parsec settings, you have client settings, host settings, blah, blah, blah. Host settings matter to me because I'm serving as a host right now. But client settings, for some reason, and this is a mistake of mine, I assumed that was a setting that would apply to all the clients connected to my host. But of course, that's not the case. It's when I am a client. So in the settings, in client settings, there's an option called window mode. And you can do full screen or windowed. So that way you can maximize the window if you're in windowed mode. But that way you don't have to have it take over your screen. If that is something you would still like to avoid.
Yeah.
So that's
Very
just a
useful.
hot tip for all the kids out there.
Windows mode. Hey, look at that. Look at that.
You can see.
All right. Well.
Ha ha ha. I can control it.
Okay. Well, why don't you play driver then, and go ahead and pick out our difficulty setting. What are we up
no.
for?
I'm fine with medium. I haven't played this game in so long. Who did I like playing? I think it was Sparky.
Sparky, I know, is the one who teleports, and I don't remember what their
Yeah.
other power is.
I think it's shoot fast.
Okay, yeah. I'm pretty impressed with how this works overall. Like there is a bit of a lag, but
Yeah.
for the most part it's
You kind of compensate for it. Like you
Yeah,
can't
there's
you can't solve it, but like you can plan for it. And it's definitely, I mean, compared to other systems like this that I've tried, I'm very, very impressed.
yeah, the bitrate struggles a little bit when things get busy, but
Mhm.
overall, like it's been pretty good.
What would be nice, and it would be nice to have, like, if you have fiber internet, then you want to be the host.
Yeah,
Because
That makes sense.
upload speeds are the real limitation. It's not download speeds. It's the real constraint is on my end. Like even if your internet is not great, that's not where the bottleneck is.
yeah, I'm glad we did normal difficulty.
Yeah.
I am getting some interesting spikes in latency.
Oh sure.
It's like not anybody's fault. Like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
the nature of the internet.
It's interesting though. I mean, just to shill for Parsec a little bit, like they, it's basically just remote desktop, right? Like in fact,
Yeah.
all you guys are doing is just viewing my screen, and then you just plugging a controller into my computer. So it's relatively simple. But I've used remote desktop like from Google and from Microsoft, and
sorry.
it's like much slower than this. So what Parsec has done is, they recognize that, like, yeah, they made this for gaming, and gaming means, like, lowering that lag, making sure you get 60 frames. But they've actually also developed just a generic desktop sharing application for remote work, and now is the time for it. But it's kind of funny because they position themselves as a gaming company, but they actually have technology that would benefit a lot of offices right now. So it's kind of an interesting. It's a weird problem to have for them, I think. But I'm fascinated by it because no one who doesn't play games has heard of Parsec.
Not yet.
It's like better than Chrome Remote Desktop. It's better than Microsoft's Remote Desktop system. It's just great.
Yeah. Definitely better than WebEx. That's what I use all day.
Oh no, I feel so bad for you. Peter, you got to select your vampiric drive. Peter?
I think we lost him.
We lose Peter. Oh, we lost Peter. Poor Peter. Well, then I don't know what to do, how to get him out of this. There's no... Because he has not disconnected. He's still connected via Parsec.
Yeah.
And with 1,600 millisecond latency on Peter's connection. Peter, buddy, we got to figure this out. All right, I'm going to boot him, and then hopefully that will... I mean, we could just start a new game. Actually, I don't know how to start other than... this is actually an interesting piece of feedback. Like, if somebody unplugs their controller in Fingeance, what happens? Right? This is something that when you're developing, alone in your dark office at 2 a.m, you don't think to figure out. But I actually just have to close the application.
Yeah, it's kind of soft lock. That's interesting.
All right.
That's why I'll never make a multiplayer game.
It was tricky. Like even for Widget Satchel, we have there's a 2-player mode that I was planning, so I wanted to make sure that none of my controller input code precluded that. And so I ended up doing a lot of work, and it really got. And actually, I was talking about this earlier, but working on the Switch version. There are a lot of things you have to consider, like what happens when you plug in when you're playing in tabletop mode. So you're using the separated Joy-Cons, but you have a little kickstand out on your Switch, but you have Joy-Cons attached to the system. Well, the system thinks it's in handheld mode. Like, there's no way for you to know it's not, and so you have to come up with a way. But you have other controllers attached. So what is the user experience or they expect? And then what happens when you then turn off those controllers, but the ones that are connected to the system are still on? Do you then fall back to those, or do you act as if no controller is connected? It's a weird mix of solving technically, but also it's a design challenge. And in the case of what we were just seeing, when a controller disconnects, do you want to automatically bounce that player, or do you want to throw up a modal that says controller disconnected so that they can get back in? How do you want to design for that scenario?
Yeah.
It's really tricky. It feels like it should be obvious, but there isn't really a universal standard for that kind of experience, because different games sort of engage with multiple players in different ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very situational.
Yeah.
I'm already in a bad way.
Well,
hello, you're back.
Yes.
Peter, you're joining us from 1998, it seems.
Oh yes, clearly. Oh god, I'll tell you right now. I thought the Airbnb Wi-Fi would be better than this. It's unfortunate, but it's fine.
Where are you, man?
I'm in Michigan, man.
Oh wow.
I went.
I guess
on
I never thought it mattered to ask, but seems like there's no internet in Michigan.
Oh no, it's just kind of like a Airbnb that's out of ways. We've been camping for the past few days here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I figured I would actually go into a place with a dedicated internet source. And I was just oh, that's right, I have super internet at home, so Wi-Fi is just fine to handle the streaming. But no, not today. Well, I actually tried to connect again back to the Icebox if you want to try and reapprove it, and we'll see if we can get this going.
Sure. Is this a new boss? I haven't seen this one before.
Yeah, actually, it's new to me too, and I played the game relatively recently. Okay, so Peter, you're back in, so you should be able to just hop in. Just by pressing A.
Well, I died.
Well, Peter, quick, before I die.
Oh, it doesn't let me pick out the characters. Very well. Do you really want to leave me here, or have me be the last person that was on the line here?
What are you gonna do? There we go.
Ah, that's right.
Little stats here. Let's see how we did.
I like
I
I did
love
9,000
designs.
damage, whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I like the
This is something-
redesign of the post level.
Oh yeah, lots of UI work in the past couple of months. Really, really good looking stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm always telling them is like, because this is such a class-based. I mean, it's not exactly, but it's sort of class-based. Like, so I have 0 in healing because I have no abilities that can let anybody heal, and that's fine. It's but like, is that taking up space in the UI that it shouldn't? Or because if I'm going to swap between players, should that always be there so that the screen always looks the same, right?
Can you swap players mid-game?
No, I don't think so. But if I'm playing from game to game and I see this results screen, I don't, like if this healing stat is just gone from Finn, like it's just removed because it's superfluous, then the screen will look different. My muscle memory as to how many down that stat is or whatever will change. So like it's a weird challenge.
From a UI perspective on my end, I would suggest finding a way to like gray out or cross out that box.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Because that would still keep it present, but it would also indicate that that particular stat isn't relevant to the character.
Right, not applicable instead of 0, which is kind of a bummer stat, right?
Yeah, so
that's a really good idea.
You could even change that 0 to an NA, or you could just gray it out altogether and just change like the kind of the salmon color that you have there to just like a 50% black overlay or something, just to show that it's not relevant to the character.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Should bring that up to those folks.
Yeah.
So the store has been redesigned as well.
Yeah, it looks really good.
I think it's a little busy on the chrome, meaning like the frames around stuff. But like that bounce is really satisfying, and the halftone background that a lot of these panels have now, really, really cool.
I think the chrome and stuff, it's not bad. I think it.
Yeah, it's kind of to taste, I guess.
It just helps highlight stuff.
Yeah. And then back in the old days, because they one of the advantages of the Unity UI system is that it's kind of a responsive system, and so Fingeance for the longest time had if it was 2 players, the screen was cut in half, and you had half the screen, and your shop window like filled that half screen, and then if there were 3 players, then it would be kind of like like a GoldenEye window where you had somebody would take up the whole bottom half, and then someone would take up the top left and then the top right, and that was a really like interesting thing. But ultimately, it became unpredictable from a design perspective and from a player expectation perspective. And so they ended up just making these little vertical cards, which don't get larger or smaller depending on how many players, and it just works better.
Yeah, it works really, really well. I like it.
Yeah, I've definitely found that when I've been working on projects where like this interesting, smart, complicated system that took me a while to build ends up being just not as good an idea as the simpler thing. Sometimes it takes a while to come to the terms with that.
Leave me alone. It's been really cool to see this game evolve over the past 2 years, 3 years.
This game has been in the works for 7 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean not full time.
I guess
It's one of those kind of things,
yeah.
but I've been playing it for 5 years.
Yeah, I've only been to playtest for like 3 years, I think, 3 or 4.
Okay, so careful if you blow that up.
Yeah,
we do
don't-
like the optional hard mode. I mean, you think we up for it?
Sure, why not?
All right.
What could go
tempt
wrong?
fate. Yeah. We could die and lose. That's what could go wrong.
Oh no, the shame.
there was a lot of discussion at a previous one of these playtest events, I think 2 months ago, when we had this, just about like how tempting it is to enter the corrupted cluster, and is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, if a player is tempted and then they die, do they feel bad? Do they feel mad at the game for making it too tempting, or do they feel like mad at themselves for falling for it? It's a bit of a balance, you know.
I think that as long as the player knows like what they're getting themselves into, it's more kind of on them. But
yeah.
I guess it really depends on the person too.
It's just like it's irresistible, you know. You have to be like, everyone, hold up, stop shooting that thing. It's like, but I shoot everything. That's my deal.
Yep.
But then, you know, it rewards players with a little bit more discipline.
I think we lost him again.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, Discord disconnected.
Oh, these slowdowns are really rough. Because that fish moves way faster.
Nope.
Yeah, I think this game has a lot of moving parts, and there'll be occasionally there'll be a time when you sort of are in a position where it's impossible to not die, but it still takes a while to die. And that's the most frustrating this game ever gets.
Yeah.
I'm shocked it doesn't happen more often, considering how complicated this game can get. So it's a testament to how well they've been able to fit all those pieces together.
Yeah. No, I mean it's been really cool to watch this evolve. Definitely hitting some lag though.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It's not the game's fault. Okay, he's going after you. That's teamwork.
Yep. That help?
Yeah. Game's a lot harder when you don't have a healer.
Yeah.
Oh, going after me. Crap. Nope. Forget that I have a teleporter.
Peter's back.
Yeah, no, he's controlling, but not in the chat, which is fine.
I mean, it's not quite as good without his charming vocal presence, but we'll have to make do.
We were a little preoccupied.
Yeah.
Enemies defeated 0. I don't know if that's right.
I mean, me neither. So it was all because they were all friends we hadn't met yet.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it was.
Didn't think of it like that.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Which one? one of the things Charles was talking about earlier was about, I think he was talking about it earlier when he was here with us, about like the shop. You just having way too many choices earlier on. Maybe Stephen was talking about that some recently. Anyway, happened recently. But just seeing like 3 random, like it's still like which one. But then eventually you're like, because you have the other teammates playing along, it becomes like you just pick randomly, and then you're just happy with whatever choice you make. Which is was probably very difficult for them to get to that point, because for a game like this, when you're designing it, you really want all these choices to matter. But like from the player experience, you just want to have fun, and so there's a sort of like you can decide whether the choice matters, if that makes sense, and then but it doesn't have to if you don't want it to, and that's something that's hard for a designer to accept, all the time. But I think this game found its way to that feeling, and it feels great.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to tell Peter to hurry it up. And I'm really curious. What's he gonna pick? Yeah, I gotta go for cooldown. That's all I ever. In the 5 years I've played this game, I've never not dumped everything into cooldown.
I always put everything into damage.
Yes.
I don't really know what I'm doing.
That's probably the smart play,
Well,
but I just love using the gadgets.
Yeah, that's under the assumption that you never get hit.
Yeah. Yeah, I never put it into health. I mean, I've gotten better at this game, but like I'm not world champion Fingeance player. But I always feel like putting it into health is like admitting failure. I'm like, no, I'll just get good. That's what I'll do.
Exactly. All right, I have a teleporter.
So it's not smart, but it is a play style. Oh no! I was want to be Gwen in this level.
Tough. This one's gonna be tough on. It's gonna be a lot of moving parts that my internet's not gonna enjoy.
Yeah.
Nope.
The thing about these falling bits of fire is that they're not straight.
Yeah.
Which is not fair.
Oof.
Welcome back. For a while, anyway.
Hey.
I feel like I might have to tap out for this last moment here. I feel like I'm a liability.
It's all good.
No, you draw fire, like even if you're not moving your vehicle.
I think, yeah. You know what I'll do? I think I will just play tank. We'll do that. We're gonna switch
Yeah,
to all
you're
color.
choosing to do that. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, correct. I think this is the best thing about one of the things about the shop, that you can respec very, very easily.
Yes, it's not so obvious, but it's sort of like a bonus feature.
Yes.
But I'm just going to dump it all into cooldown, like I always do.
We'll see if we can make it. Is this the last stage?
I think
I
there's
don't know.
5.
5 stages?
Yeah, when they make, when the Fingeance teams make demos, they tend to, those things chase you now.
Oh,
That's
oh.
not.
Here, I'll just take the bait. We discussed this. I'm just gonna like swim around, take hits, take aims. See, I can kind of see what's happening on my end here. I think the best thing about this, that like the controller vibrates the entire time. Like the controller doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah. I just ran into a bunch of bullets because I thought they were things to collect. That was real smart.
Oh, I'm by myself. That's great.
Don't shoot that.
Okay.
I mean, or shoot it if you think we can
No. It's level 4. I don't know if we could. I guess we're doing it then.
survive. Because Peter says so.
Yep.
Thanks, Peter. All right, let's take care of these right away.
I should probably be the one that triggers those because I can just teleport away.
Oh, that's smart.
I guess that's on a cooldown, so I can't do it all the time. Nope, and I'm dead. So that doesn't work super well.
Oh my word.
Okay, well, that was a good run.
Yeah.
I do think I have to get my evening sorted out, though.
Yep.
So it was cool chatting with y'all.
Yeah. Thanks for showcasing Death Strike to Bus, and thanks for playing Fingeance with us.
It's fun.
And we will,
Well,
of
we lost
course.
him again.
What?
We lost him again.
Oh, poor Peter, lost to the sands of the tubes or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, we'll see you at 2DCon, and we'll see Death Drives of Us there as well, and of course
Yes.
the new and improved Color Jumper, which I
Yes.
think we can kind of start saying is going to be out on Switch on August 28th, the first day of 2DCon. So we're going to be hyping it up like our lives depend on it then. But save us some trouble and go ahead and I believe starting on Friday, you can pre-order it on the Switch.
Yes.
So
It's
go ahead
exciting
and do it.
terrifying.
Oh no, that was all me. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
Peter, you entered the extra hard zone for us, but then we were the ones.
disconnected.
But we were the ones to die first. So
I'm so sorry. I noticed it. So
It's all good.
well, we're not here to chase a high score as much as we would love to do that, and we're not here to beat Charles at his own game. Although I did that. We're here to showcase games, to playtest games. We're not here for glory. It's just a side effect. Well, Peter, if you can stick around a little longer, Ben's going to take off.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Ben's going to take off, but maybe you and I can take a peek at one more game in the 20 minutes we have left before our scheduled sign-off time. What do you say? Peter?
yeah, well, why don't you guys go ahead and I might tap out in terms of like the stream and playing, but if Ben wants to try another game,
Ben's got to bounce.
Oh, he
well,
does.
I-
Okay.
As well.
Yeah. Well, why don't I?
I might still be on the stream. I just have to do more art assets for Steam. So
Sure. Oh yes.
That's the rest
Please.
of my evening.
don't lose a second to that. Well, I'm gonna play Astral Gunners. I think.
Yeah.
And Peter, you can take a peek as I do.
All right, guys, take care.
Yeah. See you, Ben.
Bye.
Of course, we got a couple more minutes tonight. We've lost the skills of both Peter and Ben in that last hour. So if anybody wants to join us on the stream before we say goodnight, it is available. Just go ahead. Peter will, I assume, be monitoring. He's posting some instructions in the chat you may see. So I'm gonna give Astral Gunners from the Sadie Bros a go. I'm gonna play the blue character because I always play the blue character. So another shoot 'em up, but this is more of a Western style or American style shoot 'em up, or a Japanese style, I guess. Fingeance has been described as a Euro shoot 'em up, so I guess this is more American/Japanese, if there are such categories that can be defined. The difference basically is that in Fingeance, you've got a health bar, and your hit box is like your whole thing. Here in Astral Gunners, you got one hit kill, which will be familiar for people who played a lot of games in this genre, and your hitbox is basically a tiny point. So this is much more bullet hell. As many bullets as were to be found in Fingeance, Astral Gunners is a different beast. It's interesting because a lot of the same. I'm not a very aficionado of this genre, but these two games I've been playing a lot. As they've been in development, I'm a big fan of both, and they do feel very different. You can see on my character the heart in the middle of me. That is basically my only hitbox. So it's a little more forgiving, although one hit kills. And I'm sure I'm not saying anything that is new to a lot of our viewers. But in this game, you have your main weapon, which I'm shooting now, and then you have your secondary weapon, which is more powerful, but it slows you down. So I'm very sluggish when I use it. So it doesn't run out, but you can't employ it all the time. So you have to kind of be judicious about it. It's a really good risk-reward system, and each of the four, actually there's more than that. I think there's the 3 you can unlock at the beginning, and then there's more you can unlock later. There I go dying. They each have different secondary weapons, and so their risk-reward mechanisms are slightly different. And so very frequently, it's kind of just beneficial just to stop shooting for a minute, just to get your bearings, which is something I don't do in Fingeance. I'm always shooting in Fingeance, but that's because there's no penalty to firing all the time in Fingeance. I do like that enemies can just they just sort of fly into your line of fire. I get a kick out of that. Oh, I just walked in on that one. My bad. Here you have to sort of time your motions. And now that I missed my opportunity to get that line of guys, I really can't get in their way now. It's kind of frustrating. You kind of live with that mistake. It's kind of a cool level design, which is not something you think a lot about in shooters, as being sort of levels, but it's a really good. Pacing is really good. And I think when it comes to different styles, I think Fingeance is more my speed. But this game really, it explains itself immediately and very well, which I like a lot. pretty good tell. Oh, that moving background is kind of tricky. There's that indicator on the left side of the screen that shows where the enemy is, which is helpful, but I feel like that's for like players who are really familiar with the genre. Like it's really useful, but I never find myself wanting to look over there. I think that's okay. In situations like this, I'm always looking at myself, but then during this tell, I'm looking at it, the enemy, and that's what that little indicator is to help, so you can kind of see both. But don't. There's like a certain sort of instinct to employ that kind of look, and I'm not super good at that. This is where having the secondary is really helpful because you want to make slow movements most of the time. This hard rock soundtrack is like really appropriate too. It totally fits. It's like, I think it's like a little cheesy, like at least to my ears, but it's just so perfect. I think I'm bad at this part. I'm trying to remember. Oof. That sound effect is pretty cool as it was. You I got it. Alright, I'm entering my name. And now these are not my actual initials, but this is what I enter when I do my initials. I really thought that I would last all the way to 9 o'clock playing this game, but it beat me before that. So I'm going to give it another go, and I'm going to play as a different character. Because I'm usually resistant to that, so I'm going to give it a try. I'm that way in Fingeance too. I kind of just have my favorite. I'm like, or in that game, 2 characters I always play as. Alright, so standard weapon. Okay, so alternate is a kind of a missile type thing. You can kind of clear the screen. I think. I'm not sure how powerful it is exactly compared to that beam that the blue character has. Okay, it's pretty good. I wonder if it has a cooldown. I can't really. I'm not sure if I can read it. Big brother. It's very cute. I think definitely don't feel as powerful as this character. So I feel like I don't really know. Like I'm missing how to play. I think I don't know how to play this one quite as well. I mean, I have this shield, so presumably that gives me some benefit, but I'm too afraid to get hit by things to test it. Indicator, the warning indicator is interesting because enemies come from the back. Very frequently you'll hang back here, you know, and then if an enemy comes out of there and hits you, it doesn't feel fair. So that indicator is pretty useful. So I can see my target, the little sort of reticule that goes on an enemy, and then that's where my weapons, my secondary hits.
I'm stepping in.
Hey!
Remind you have an action button.
What? Where is it?
I believe it's X or Y.
Oh yeah, that's what this is.
BB. Yes,
hit
each
B
character
and I
has
get like a little...
different action button. Yes.
Man, what does it do?
So you have I think
that's the shield that I'm hitting
yellow
at.
is shields. So whenever you and then it basically
it didn't work.
List the point. What?
One benefit is I can shoot this thing from wherever I am, which is cool.
But yeah, it's like you actively have like when they shoot bullets at you, you have to use it. And then, that's it.
Well, I was trying to get rid of that giant black hole looking thing, but presumably I can't use that.
Exactly, not the black hole thing, but like regular bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh my goodness.
You know, actually, similar to Fingeance, like when you know, I don't go for health and I don't go for damage. I just want to get good. Like that's, you know what I mean? So like having a shield is like fine, but it doesn't really like appeal to me. Like I'd rather just not get hit. Like I know it's smarter to do both of those things, but as a player, I'm less interested in that, I suppose. That's why I like the blue player.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think some of the favorite things that they've added to this game are the score-based challenges.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just like it's content you don't really need to dig into, but if you really want to find a mastery of it, it's like, oh, you have to play the high risk, high reward.
Yeah. Well, that's what's good about this, like this character with the shield and the weapon that you can target from anywhere, which is useful. It rewards that play style, which is something that like games like this really benefit from. Is having like I'm very distracted now. Having different types of characters that like you can approach them in the same way, but then you can discover what's different about them, what's valuable about them, and then you can pick a favorite.
Yep. And there's nothing wrong with having.
See, I mean fair.
Yeah, and that's where the score mechanic comes in.
Yeah.
It's always something I forget about this game, like entirely. And then it's like, oh, that's right. If I'm feeling frisky, I can try and risk my life for points.
Yeah. Because I can target that thing, but I'm pretty sure I can't destroy it. wonder if that's on purpose.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think.
like I can, you know, if I sort of point myself in a different direction, I target
To
different
be
things.
distracting.
Because I can destroy it, or if that was just going to blow up anyway. I don't know.
Gosh, I actually have questions. Have you seen the other two gunners, like the full and green ones? I don't.
The unlockable ones?
Yeah.
Don't be silly. I'm not that good at this game. To unlock a character, please.
Yeah. I have not seen them before either.
Yeah.
Like I see them in the background, the picturesque and things like that. But I was like, gosh, actually, having like played this lightly, I've never actually gone to unlock those characters.
Oh, I can't believe it's running that long.
Nah, you got this, man. You're doing great.
Dang, there's so many things happening.
Yeah, you're actually. I'm watching the stream. You're doing great, man. You're killing it. See, you also survived, not having me here.
That's been the roughest challenge
Thank you so
of all.
much, Ryan and Ben. Yeah, Ryan and Ben coming in clutch today.
Yeah. Hey, bud. Red worker.
Give us
I
a hug.
got you.
I think things will go better on the way I'm having my home connection.
Yeah.
See, I don't think distance is an actual issue, right? Like just being in another state.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's definitely just me.
I tried that shield, but I guess it can't block all the bullets.
Oh no! Oh no! Yeah, so you also have a bomb in this game.
Is that a different character maybe?
Nope, it's a different button. I think it might be a trigger or a button, like a LRVR. Yeah.
All right. Well, in the 2 minutes remaining, I'll load up Red Player and we'll see if we can figure out which of those buttons it is. I'll have to press all of them to find out. Okay.
And it's only when you have like a full meter on the top.
Oh, it's like a super.
And that's another part of the game. Is just like you have to shoot these specific things, or you have to convert bullets into energy, and then yeah, it's a really reload challenge.
So the alternate for this character is a charge, and presumably the longer you charge, the more powerful it is. So that's a totally different risk reward setup. It's like you're moving slower, not quite as slow as the blue player, but I guess presumably the longer you hold out.
Oh yeah.
All right, so then the bomb. I just kind of blow up. Maybe it like knocks out all the bullets around me.
That might be it.
Probably is. It looks hilarious. All right, I think we can call it a night. We're just about cracking 9 o'clock here. So I can use my handy dandy keyboard shortcuts here.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, that's it. So, Peter, it's good that you made it back for the
Thank you
finale.
everyone who came out tonight. Thank you, Mark, for spearheading tonight.
Well, as the internet swallows Peter, I will bid you all adieu. Again, 2DCon is the 28th through the 30th. Lots of cool stuff happening there. Of course, we've got Indie Island that's happening on that Saturday and Sunday for 4 hours at 2D Convention on Twitter. They posted the schedule yesterday, so you can check out exactly when. We're also doing the Indie Showcase, which is a 1 hour showcase of all the games that were a bunch of the ones we played tonight and more are going to be showcased. You'll see the trailers, you'll see a little bit of hype about them. The ones that are released, you can find out where to buy them. And then there's going to be a little Q&A with the developers as well. So that's going to be a really cool event, and that's going to happen on Friday evening. Also, the podcast that I do, Nice Games Club, with my pals Ellen and Steven, we're going to be doing a live episode on Friday night. There's also another live podcast on Saturday. There's a Super Smash Brothers tournament. There's a whole bunch of stuff. And a bunch of things raising money for charity. So all very cool things. And unlike other conventions, and even unlike some online conventions, it's totally free. It's all on Twitch at 2DCon's Twitch channel. They'll be hosting the various events that are being put on by other folks. Peter's putting a bunch of the links in the chat, so you can check that out as well. So that's it for this edition of Twin Cities Playtest. We'll be back in September, but of course we are going to be, Peter and I, and these games and this setup is going to be available for Indie Island. So at a normal convention, you go to the tables and you play the games. We have this system here that does that, so we're going to be taking that to there. So if you didn't get a chance tonight, and I know most of you didn't, come check us out. It's 2 4-hour blocks, plenty of time to queue up and play these games. So until then, we will see you then.